There you go, AV. AV just come in. No YouTube this morning, and then you came in on cue.
Sorry, everyone. Sorry.
uh,
I
happens with
forgot Peter
age.
Lewis was calling me. Sorry, Peter Lewis. My bad. Good morning,
Oh,
Wendell.
Hi, good morning, Paul. Good morning, Steve. Good
Age
morning,
kicks in ever
Richard.
so often.
Sorry.
The age kicks in ever so often.
yeah,
You know.
yeah.
And
But I won't say anything.
good morning, Trinidad and Tobago and listeners all over the globe, especially
Hmm.
listeners and viewers in the United States of America. You have hope. You have hope.
Well, they're saying that
And you saw it last night in live
they're
and living
saying,
color.
um, I don't know if you call it won the debate, but was on top. She real pinched at him though.
Yeah, but you know what? I thought he handled himself well in most cases. I
Hmm.
thought he was actually going to be more out of control.
You could get more under control than that.
Who is Donald
Yeah,
Trump? Yes,
he
that can
can. He easily can.
happen.
He easily
Yeah.
can. And a lot of the polls this morning are putting them at a dead heat in terms of performance.
Yeah,
Is
we
that
will
so?
see.
As
Yeah,
a matter
we'll
of
see
fact,
later
some of
on.
the polls are putting him slightly ahead.
No, well, that you know that those things are biased.
No,
I mean,
no.
there is no way, there is no way, Paul, there is no way that Donald Trump could be voted as slightly ahead of Kamala Harris last evening. There is no way.
Well, it
Hmm.
depends on your perspective on leaning. But I will tell you, I'm not saying all, but a couple of polls put them at a dead heat. I thought she was good. I didn't think she was great. I think she went and did what she was uh, rehearsed to do, which is press its pressure
I think
points.
he is so easy to debate really at the end of the day because he
Yeah.
gets unhinged so quickly. You know, he's
But
a
I thought he would have
misogynist,
actually gotten more unhinged on more occasions.
he's a
His,
racist.
his
He
team
is so
clearly told him she's going to try to get you to go off the rails because that's his weak point.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So for the most part, I thought I was, okay, he ain't run across the thing and jump kick her or something because he could do that.
He could, and he was just smirking his way through it, you know.
Well,
But clearly that something is mentally wrong with that man.
Well, after
yeah.
the debate, Taylor Swift came out on Instagram and said that she endorses Kamala Harris.
Mhm. Which they were waiting for a while.
Yeah.
And she has huge influence.
Oh, massive,
And I
massive.
believe the moderators of that debate allowed him to do what he did so that they could show him up. You know, like how sometimes we
Well,
leave people when they go off on their rants here, you know? I think the moderators left him alone
I
because
think they could
he
have ruined him in a
kept
couple
interrupting
times
them.
more, but I think they
I
did
think they handled the stories pretty well.
pretty well because there's some people that you're just gonna end up in a shouting match with them, and
That's what I'm saying.
the
And that's
moderators
what
don't
happened.
want to end up in a shouting match with
Right.
with one of the candidates. So
So they probably left him to his own demise. Let people see exactly what Donald Trump really made of. And that's what they
I
did.
don't think we needed a debate to see what Donald Trump was made of.
Yeah, it's already there.
Uh,
I thought he part with eating dogs and cats. It was
Yeah, saying some craziness and talking about the Democrats want to have abortions after the child born, which is basically a
yeah.
yeah,
murder.
9 months.
They put them
9 months
aside and then they
abortion.
decide what they want to do. Was going what?
He just says anything that comes to his mind. That's what he
Yeah,
says.
yeah.
You know?
CNN said debate watchers said 63 to 37% said Harris better outperformed Trump on stage in Philadelphia. But that's CNN.
That's yeah. That's just one.
That's CNN. No,
Uh-huh.
you understand? You know where CNN leans to. You
Yeah,
understand?
yeah.
So I'm sure Fox this
ABC
morning screaming that
ABC was
Trump won.
yeah, ABC was leaning in her direction too. I had no problem with that. Because I mean it was clearly that man was clearly she is so unfit for almost everything.
Trump was typical Trump, and Harris
Mm,
was typical prosecutor. So she knew exactly what his pressure points were, and she
mm,
went at them. And
yeah.
many of the pressure points were contained in the topics that were agreed upon.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Abortion was a big one. Women's reproductive rights was a big one.
Mm-hmm.
The Capitol Hill insurrection on January 6th was a big one.
Mm-hmm.
And then he added immigrants eating dogs and cats all by himself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and of course his in his estimation, his strong point is his interpretation of his handling of the economy and putting millions of dollars in people's hands, and the country is better under him. But billionaires are the ones who benefited primarily.
Yeah.
But he is going after, and he did before, the racist cultural backbone of America. That's what he's going after.
Well, that's why he was elected in the first place. I've said it over and over. Trump was able to tap into an underbelly, particularly after 2 terms of a black man leading the United States.
Mm-hmm.
After 2 terms of Barack Obama, where the people who have that type of ideological leaning were ready for somebody to return them to quote unquote make America great again, which really is a euphemism for make America white again.
Yes. Yes.
So he was able to tap into that very successfully, and that's what he was able to do is really feed from that underbelly of America, where there's a huge section of the American society that doesn't really follow this. Oh my God, a black man running the U.S. They like the status quo. They like the sentiment or the ideology that white better than black. Black need to know their place.
Yes.
Trump stroked the look what happened to the police service, the U.S. police service under Trump, where you had all these instances of abuse against black people.
Well, let me tell you something. I don't know if I sent the video for you or I tagged you in it. There was a video in Miami of a Dolphins wide receiver being tackled to the ground, stopped at a traffic stop, and they tackled him to the ground. The policeman has already been put on desk duty, and they're going to be investigating all the others. But did you see that? That is what Donald Trump is going to be bringing back to the United States.
Yeah.
That episode there. That man was, it was a disgusting.
There are world leaders who refused to shake that man's hand when he was president.
Yeah.
You remember the video we saw with the then Queen Elizabeth?
So, I mean, he's just, but let me tell you, it's a reality call for the world, because there are millions of people in the world who share that ideology still. True. The world is not that evolved as we think.
Very true.
And that, oh my God, we're all equal and we should all have the same opportunities. The world, that's a sentiment that we like to hold on to because of our upbringing, our socialization. But there are so many millions in so many other countries, in addition to the US, that do not share that view. When you look at some of the videos on social media of people, the Karens as they call them, and the way they think they can speak to people of color, you know?
Yeah, they really spoiled our name Karen anyway.
Yeah.
Well, not only that.
Karens.
We have a couple here who spoiled it too. You know,
like 17.
But that video, though, I wanted to touch on that video of that policeman, those police officers tackling Tyreek Hill to the ground, is indicative of what I was saying on Monday. It happens all over the world. Police officers get this feeling that they could make and break you, you know, they could change your life in a split second. And that video showed that police officer is going to pay a heavy price. Trust me.
Well, he's already on desk duty.
He's going to pay a heavy price.
He
personally will pay a heavy price. But not
Danny
the ones
Torres is his name.
Yeah, not the ones here, unfortunately.
Yeah. He was put on desk duty as of Sunday. This happened on Sunday, right before the first game of the season, the home opener, they call it.
Yeah.
And they had stopped him for speeding.
Yeah.
And it just, you know,
escalated. The man, they grab him out the car, you know. They drag him out the car, you know, and wrestle him to the ground with the knee on his back. Huh?
But it's not unusual for them now, unfortunately.
And other, well, that is the route to the stadium, and then other players saw what was going on and then stopped. So then one of them got put in handcuffs, was later released. And I'm going, geez, and ages.
Yeah.
Well, in some good news back at home, the
TKR won last night.
Yes, they did.
By 4 wickets.
We won handsomely too, thanks to Kieran Pollard. The two Ks shone last night. Kieran and Kamla, they shone last night. Kieran Pollard this is his first 50 since 2021. So could you imagine? And it was in a cause that we needed to win the match last night. So congratulations to TK. I was flicking back and forth. I was mostly watching the debate though. But at the end there, I was on time to watch the end of the TK beat St. Lucia Kings. Well done, well done, well done. Good
The
start.
Eastport of Spain Development Company Limited has rewarded the two Sealots men, Deshaun Hamilton, 28 years old, and Terrence David, 43, for their bravery and humanity displayed in rescuing the car accident victim last week. So congratulations. Well done, Eastport.
What did they do? Sorry?
They rewarded them.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Right?
That is good news.
The company took note after reading of the men's positive actions in The Guardian. The men pulled the victim, who was a police officer apparently, from the wreckage, despite concerns that the vehicle could explode at any moment.
Oh, it was a police officer?
Apparently, one of the people in the car was a police officer.
Oh, okay.
Eastport of Spain chairman Helen Moraine was more valiant deserving of a reward.
Nice.
And and they seize the opportunity to highlight the positive actions and contributions of the often stigmatized communities in Eastport. And I'm surprised that your MP Wendell has not rewarded them yet.
Maybe he will. I don't know.
We're waiting on Christmas.
I don't know. I'm not in the position to even make that recommendation. Because as chairman of Port of Spain South, I would have made that recommendation. You know how I felt about it.
You're still in a position to make the recommendation.
I don't want the book's position.
I sent him a message the other day that the TTPS will be the downfall of the government. And for the first time in a long while, he has not responded to me.
But he has a different mandate now.
He always responds to me.
Yeah, time with you. All right, so that's the good news.
Yeah,
excellent news. That was excellent news, actually. And Paul, you held yourself well in the Senate arm. Was that yesterday or Monday? I was watching
Monday
that last night. That was on Monday. You sit next to Mr. Vera, not so?
Yes, I do.
Right. I was watching it on television last night. I say, hey, look, my boy, man.
Somebody told me I was sleeping. I said, no, I was just resting.
Nah, you wasn't sleeping. Nah, I know when you're sleeping. You wasn't sleeping.
How do you know when I'm sleeping? That's
we can hear when
those words came out my mouth, and those words came out my mouth, and I wanted to swallow them back.
You should swallow them back.
Anyway, gentlemen, it is 22 minutes after the hour, 6 o'clock. You can vote on our morning poll where we asked you yesterday. Vote on our mobile app or website. The question was, do you think acting Prime Minister Stuart Young is being prepared to lead the PNM? You can vote on our app and website. And if you have to call us, you'll have to call us. We kind of going around until the guys get in here today regarding our little phone issue. You could call 62-POWER and extension 5. Well, prompt 5. And you'll get us.
Tell them what 62-POWER is.
627-6937. All right. I get in buff. I didn't say hellos to people. So here we go. Garcelia and Valencia, good morning. Ray out in West Palm Beach, Florida. Oliver Man Warren, Slick Money Grip, Mrs. R. DJ Ray out in Delaware. Rena Boodoo Jennings. Wayne Bennett in Covington, Georgia. Boy Bedesi down in Davie, Ewan Rajpal, Anthony Tinton, Ontario, Canada, D. Pierre Isasha out in London, Carol Guevara, good morning to you, Wendy and James, John Cato, Phil Cordes, Maria Celia, Nikisha P out in Brazil Village, Gloria Gray, Panton, Gloria Charles Panton, Ambrose Blah, Miss Ingrid, Tucson, Arizona, Trini in Boston, haven't heard from you in a while. What's happening? Vaughn Drayton, Boy Bedesi, Colin Jack, David Wares, and of course Mrs. Wares, Daniel Knight, Mo Gaines, Trinidad Margo, Business Prasad, Daniel Plenty, Ian Lee.
Daniel Plenty?
Did I say Daniel? Daniel Knight, Daniel Plenty. Good morning, Daniel Plenty.
Nothing to do with what you said.
Yeah. Let's see. CJ New York. Anyhow, Miguel, wow. Michael Gradison. Yeah, good morning to you. Carol Joseph. Good morning to you guys as well. All right.
The carnage continues.
Yeah, boy. Remember I sent that to you yesterday. I just
Continued in Petty Valley on Monday night
Yeah.
when allegedly gang members invaded a family's home and executed 3 members of a family, including the husband, his common law wife, and 17-year-old son. Marlon Lee, 41, his common law wife, Selena Rodriguez, 34, and their son, Malik Lee, were all shot multiple times by armed assailants at 9:36 p.m. off Pioneer Drive in Petty Valley. Police confirmed it was an execution-style killing, and they are working on the theory that the remaining son, also a teenage boy, allegedly issued threats to a gang leader in the area, and that was the reprisal for that.
So I'm guessing the police is going into that area, look for that gang leader and question him. I'm guessing that's what's going to happen.
The police are
doing
continuing investigations. I don't know.
Yeah,
I have nothing more
that's
to say on that.
Yeah, I just saw that story on the news last night, and I said, "What?"
Yeah.
You know.
And then there was a home invasion in Aranguez too. Saw that video.
Now, let me tell you what is also disturbing to me. There was a conference yesterday at the Hyatt Regency, which was attended by the Minister of National Security. So, of course, the media took the opportunity to question Minister Hines about Christopher Christmas list. And he revealed that Mr. Hughes, who was held on September 7th, this is his third detention, the first for the sedition charges, which he was charged. The second, I don't know why, but he was released.
And this money laundering.
Some investigation into financial crimes. And this third one, and get this, I guess this must exist in all countries. He was held on September 7th on a deportation order. This after the Ministry of National Security deemed him, open quotations, an undesirable inhabitant.
Wasn't he released without charge, though?
He was released without charge, but he was held as an undesirable inhabitant, according to Section 8, Paragraph Q of the Immigration Act, Chapter 1801. So the Ministry of National Security has deemed him an undesirable inhabitant.
I don't even know how to interpret what's going on there. All I know, as I said, they're playing with unnecessary fire.
It's making us look so bad. It's made Canadian news.
Unnecessary fire. You understand?
And I will leave that right there.
Whether you think Chris Hughes or Christmas list might be politically connected or not, you're playing with unnecessary fire. Right? That's all I could say. That's all I intend to say about it.
So when Canada start deeming us undesirable inhabitants, hush. Hush. Okay? Don't say nothing. Move on.
Yeah. I think Trinidad and Tobago football team lost again. They're calling for the return of Angassi. I see some people.
Why are you saying me down that road?
I didn't follow.
The Minister of National Security has said that in the next 14 months, all of the Coast Guard's 8 larger vessels will be back in operation.
Next 14 months?
14, eh? 14.
What they basically tell the drug smugglers.
Yeah, 14 months to play yourself.
Yeah, 14 months. Am I wrong?
No. Same thing I said.
Yeah, 14 months where the borders are a little more porous and vulnerable.
But you know, Paul, you have vehicles. Do you wait until it's dilapidated then to repair it, or you repair?
I don't know that they did that. I don't know that they did that.
Why these boats taking 14 months?
What I can say is that while I fully agree with Minister Hines that all machines from time to time will need maintenance.
Yes.
Right?
We
know that. We are aware of that. So I would have imagined that they would have planned so that the least number possible are on a maintenance schedule and out of operation at a particular time while the others continued service so that we can be as covered as possible. Because we are aware that maintenance is inevitable. Am I wrong? Am I crazy, Wendell? This is a crazy thought process?
No, I have a crazier thought process after, but go ahead.
So that you don't have 8 out at the same time. Because I don't care what nobody tell me. If 8 out at the same time, it means that we are less covered than we normally are.
Well, and Paul, my crazy thought process is that what were they covering in the first place? What were they doing?
Well, Stephen, they were doing, but I don't think it sends a good message to the wider society or the wider region or the drug smugglers and the gun smugglers that, well, we are 14 months. And within 14 months, he said they'll be all back on, which means they may come back on stream at different times during that 14 months, right? Keep that in mind. All in coming back on in 14 months. I want to be fair. But still, for 8 to be out at the same time,
same thing I said.
It's like the port telling the GSC National Security months ago. Well, we know the scanners were coming up on terms of their certification to be obsolete, but we didn't start the procurement process in time to get new scanners. Sorry, oops.
But people in charge of these different arms of national security,
getting paid no matter what.
Huh?
Getting paid no matter what.
Coast Guard, the Army, the police, because let me tell you something. If you think the Coast Guard bad with their vessels, you should see police vehicles, new vehicles, parked up on a heap, in some stations,
Yeah.
Well, who's responsible for that? I mean, it's true the minister ultimately responsible, but who running those divisions that they checking on these things? As to why sometimes I used to get pissed in the corporation. I offered to buy a battery already for a truck. A garbage truck was down at time, and they reported in the meeting why it was down for a battery. I said a battery. I said I'll buy the battery.
See,
how about the wheel nuts?
That's why I know you're good citizens. I offer to buy batteries for Zena's equipment all the time.
Zena is not a
I don't want Zena equipment to break on batteries.
Zena don't use them wind-up ones?
No. We get rid of that. I buy the battery. Oh, I just see Ragoobarsingh that jump. Yes. Good morning, Ragoobarsingh.
I mean a jump.
Because if I think you're keeping you waiting long, I just get anxiety attack. I get hello. Good morning. Good morning, Richard. You look much better. Welcome back.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, I do feel much better.
That's good to know. Glad to have you back. You were very shaky that morning, but thanks for making the effort, and thanks. Good to have you back. Yeah, we're talking about the vessels that down, and yes, I buy batteries for Zena and make sure every week because Zena uses that equipment very often, so I have to make sure Zena's have extra batteries in Zena's house so she don't ever.
Some people just song alone does make them smile,
What sound is that, Wendell? I can remember that's the sound of a mosquito.
That song you just make.
Sound of a shaver.
Yeah, the shaver.
The shaver. But Zena machine goes. Zena machine goes.
The high pitch.
The higher levels. I have a video to share with you all, people. And I am loath to share this video, but I'm sharing the video in the hope that people become even more vigilant if that's possible in this country. Because any unguarded moment will mean that the criminals
will
seize the opportunity to come at you. And it is a trigger for people who, if violence triggers you, please be advised that this is a scary video to watch. From Arangwe, it's happening in Arangwe recently.
But they could have injured themselves.
So clearly they were being stalked.
Yeah, they were being looked at, yes.
No. And you see how much burglar proof on the door?
Yes.
And you have to go in and come out at some point.
Well, one of those faces is very clear, so I assume they've caught all of those 3 guys by now.
Well, that's the presumption with Richard. I would imagine that you would freeze frame that that slide and put that face out as somebody who the police are looking for and flood social media with it so people in his neighborhood can help the police to find him. Crazy thought.
How long ago this happened?
The video has a time frame stamp on it.
I think it was either yesterday or Monday.
24th, 9th, 11th. Well, it is 24th.
The 11th of September.
That is this morning?
The 11th of September is this morning, but is this 9:09?
It might be the 9th of, well, it can't be the
9th of September, which is 2 days ago.
Yeah, the 9th of September.
The police should have those people in custody already because that boy's face is pretty clear. And people would know who he is.
Somebody would know who he is.
Yeah, somebody would know who he is.
And who he hangs out with. Isn't that a scary experience? A traumatic and frightening experience?
Absolutely.
So they must have gone out to put out garbage or something, that hour or something, you know what I mean? And coming, because you can tell they're in their pajamas already, you know? The night clothes or whatever you want to call it.
Shall we open the phones?
Yeah.
I want you all to call 62 Power, which is 627-6937. Option number 5. And we'll have a nice, clear conversation. Good morning, caller.
Yeah. Morning, Wendell. Morning.
Morning, Mr. Patrick.
Morning.
Morning, Mr. Patrick.
Morning. For 5 years, I'm talking about it. I know fire truck. We have no ambulance. We have no helicopter. Coast Guard boat. We have no water. We didn't budget.
Patrick, you're saying there's no ambulance and there's no fire truck?
But the fire association keep betting up for years.
But you say there's no fire truck. That's an inaccurate statement. And you're saying there's no ambulance. That's also an inaccurate statement.
Yeah, Minister Health, ambulance, all the.
So you are saying all the ambulances are down and all the fire trucks are down. That's what you're saying.
Yes, that was the fire association.
So you are supporting the fire service. So there are no fire trucks in operation in the country and no ambulances. That's what you're saying.
No, fire trucks. I'm exactly a little bit here. Fire trucks, but how much to service the place?
You're under-resourced. You're under-resourced. You're breaking up for some reason this morning, Mr. Patrick.
No, it's a problem with the flow line.
That was a problem for the longest time.
Yeah. Thanks, Mr. Patrick.
The pay was the transport
Yeah, Mr. Patrick, you're breaking up. You'll have to call 62 Power option 5.
All right.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
Good morning, caller.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. Paul, Dr. Paul, you know this from Australia that she said was at disgrace at the Olympics. You know that she won gold some years ago and she is number 1.
I didn't hear the comment very clearly.
Yeah, who won gold?
I said that the lady that was a big controversy at the Olympics with the Trinidad dancing from Australia.
Uh-huh.
Right, you know that she is number 1 in the world in that sporting event right now.
Yeah, I read something like that. I took it up and just sold. I didn't know who the source was.
And I don't know how.
Thank you.
When I listened to that debate last, I don't know how polls could say Donald Trump is slightly ahead. Those polls are crazy, but Kamala Harris, if that guy raw, she just mashed him up to the best debate I ever heard from a president.
2 more to go, hopefully. Thank you.
No, I don't know if there's any other debate.
I said hopefully. Yeah.
I don't think there's any more.
All right. 62 Power option 8, and of course our toll-free line 866-525-1099 is working. Good morning, Paul. Good morning.
Good morning to the Power Breakfast team.
Good morning.
Power family.
Morning.
This is 2 quick notes I had to hit. Ms. Harris hit him with a blow last night. Okay, she hit him with the blow when they asked something about the race, and she reminded him of that ad that he took out in the New York Post regarding the Central Park 5. Mr. Man's face just turned off, and that was a knockout punch for the Democrats.
Yeah, that was a low one. That was a low blow.
No, it was a knockout punch. And the second thing I want to hit you guys real quick with is you guys were talking about the situation with the athlete when he got pulled over in Florida or whatsoever.
Yeah.
When an officer pulls you over, you have to obey their command.
Correct.
And he did disrespect the officer by indicating, yo, he said to roll down the window. Roll down the window. You don't know what you have inside the car. We are not seeing. The window is tinted. So when we're outside here and we're asking you to do a request to put down a window or do certain things, you have to follow certain commands. Just because you are athlete or you high up in the air or you're low down on the ground, you still have to obey the law. You have to obey instructions. All right? Anyway, guys, stay safe.
All right. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Mi amor.
Buenos dias.
I heard you. Oh God, you love you come like my girl last night in America there, and I come like Trump because you throw the bait and are ready to bite it. And I just throw the bait this morning. But let me remind you, you had somebody invited to all the show already. Ask them how those things work. They know about that and battery and how the noise it does make. Wendell, his face was in total glee, like he was enjoying it. He loved to hear those noises. Yeah, I wanted to jog your memory now, and I would leave it there. Don't try that with me, eh? When you see, let sleeping dogs lie. Leave me alone when you see I'm in trouble here.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
After trouble you.
Last night, oh God, I went to my bed. I loved not only that debate last night, I loved MSNBC talk, the hosts, after all the hosts, different hosts. Listened to them last night, and they were on the ball. So, Kamala Harris showed plenty bait, and Trump bite him last night, man, and eat up himself. He was a total mess. So, when already don't touch educated women, eh? You see how they could mash up on
I mean, don't touch educated women. What kind of order is that?
I mean, they're surely debating them now.
Okay, I understand.
And how they could emasculate.
I get confused there. Don't touch educated women, but I can't touch you again.
All right.
Have a good morning, Tina.
Well, and Paul,
Bye, Paul.
Bye.
Bye, Paul, for running me off.
All right. Yeah, one more call and we go for headlines.
My friend Taylor endorsed.
Yeah, I saw after. So that's a huge number of votes there. Because Taylor could sway the elections.
But that man is going to get one sound cut, Taylor. Hopefully never to be heard of again after.
Now, the world is keeping its fingers crossed. Collective fingers crossed. Richard, do you have newspapers?
Yes, I do. I think did you all mention that isn't today in honoring 9/11 victims too?
Yes.
It is.
Yeah. So,
I got a message about Chef Gordon Ramsay too. You all got that message?
No.
Well, how we know what your message if you don't tell us?
No, well, that's why I don't like to say certain things unless
it's confirmed. Yeah. I don't know anything about
what you're talking about.
And nothing has come across my stream. But certainly, I mean, of course, to the families of Trinidadians and Tobagonians who died in 9/11, you know, our condolences. And of course, the Americans listening, generally. Yeah, so let me start with the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian for today. Maybe I should put on my glasses. That might be helpful. So the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian for today, and of course, today is Wednesday, September 11th, 2024. Valley of Death. Dad, girlfriend, son killed in gang-related attack. The house at Upper Pioneer Drive, Petit Valley, where father, his girlfriend, and son were killed on Monday. Murder victim Selena Rodriguez and Marlon Lee. There are pictures of two of the deceased. So that's what's on the front page of the Guardian this morning. So condolences to the family and friends of those people. Socadrome on despite Gene Pier complex repairs, and Auditor General impasse puzzles ex-central bank boss. So all of that is on the front page, and on the back page of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian today, Soca Warriors draw blank. And the main picture is that of Trinidad and Tobago's Sean Phillips on the attack during the Pan American Challenge Cup encounter at the Andre Avelino Caceres Sports Complex in Lima, Peru yesterday. TNT won 6-1. Of course, this is hockey if you're wondering what I'm talking about. So that's the front and the back of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian. The Daily Express for this morning. Family wiped out. That's the headline on the Daily Express. Dad, wife, and son shot dead in Petit Valley. When I see people living in conditions like this, I always...
You know, I was going to say it and I didn't.
It always aggravates me.
Yeah.
I was going to say it and I didn't.
It aggravates me. But it's a picture of the house, and that's all that the Express has on its front page, actually, in terms of any stories. And on the back page, of course, is Jawanti warning economists serious risk of undermining integrity, trust in public fiscal institutions if impasse not resolved. And well, you know, Express is kind of funny now. They have news on the back page too.
Yes, not funny. That's deliberate.
Huh?
That's deliberate. That's not funny.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Pamela promises major healthcare changes, and Brown, we can't send troops to Haiti. As in can't, all right? Gunmen rob 3 in car park, woman escapes bullet. And in sports, stalemate. Soca Warriors held a goalless draw versus French Guyana. Newsday for today. No, sorry, I did Newsday already. No, I didn't do Newsday. It's kind of like exactly the same thing as The Guardian, so that's why it confused me. Petit Valley family slain. Cops, no motive for triple murder. And there's a picture of the house and an insert photo of two of the deceased. Silk debate reaches the court. So that's also on the front page. And on the back page of the Newsday today, Paralympian Akeem Stewart dedicates medal to father, silver medal for ailing dad. And Calypso Stickmen win 4th straight at Pan Am Challenge. And, well, there is a picture of Akeem Stewart, who, of course, got silver in the discus. So that's it for our 3 dailies this morning.
All right, let's get the results of our morning poll that we asked you yesterday. Do you think AG, the acting Prime Minister Stuart Young, is being prepared to lead the PNM? Well, you voted. 67% said yes. 67 said yes. All right. Let's get into this morning's poll. You will call us at 62-POWER 627-6937, option 8. And of course, our toll-free lines for those in US and Canada, 866-525-1099. Our poll.
But I have a poll that I recorded yesterday because I didn't want to forget. But it's not related to any of the topics on the front pages this morning. That poll is, do you think the impasse with the 5 dissident UNC MPs will cost the UNC the next general election? But I will proffer another poll. Do you think the central bank governor should meet with the Auditor General? Is another possible poll. Which one do you have, or do you prefer, or do you have another one you'd like to suggest?
I'll give it to Richard today, and seeing that he's made a splendid first return.
Either one I think is fine. I have no preference in those two.
Then let's type in for me.
All right.
All right. So there you go. The morning poll is on your screen already. I'll tell you. Do you think the impasse with the 5 dissident UNC MPs will cost the UNC the elections, the next general elections? Toll free, North Americans, 866-525-1099. Those locally, 62-POWER 627-6937, option 8. All right, until we get our phone line sorted out. The guys are coming in today.
I thought it was option 5.
Oh, sorry, option 5.
It's a good thing I have a good memory.
I'm hungry. All right.
What is Jerry Narese doing calling me?
All right. So start voting on Facebook, YouTube, and on WhatsApp at 318-1021. Captain Ron says yes. Roger Seawing, yes. Val says no. Anthony Tinto in Toronto says yes. Good morning, Vincent in Birmingham, UK. Danrad, David Nelson, GNC Auto, good morning. Let's see if we have any here. Let's see. We have Jean Clark, yes. Michael Gradison, yes.
Richard, you're writing, right?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
I'm looking for votes. We'll go all the way down, yes? Right, here we are. Keeps moving. Michael Oliver says yes. Richard P. Knights, no. Andre, yes. Ian Lee, yes. Arno, same difference. Adonna Clark, no. Rena Jennings, no.
Rena saying no.
62 Power, option 5. Good morning. Good morning.
Good again.
You got it, Steve?
Even the dissidents, they're within nothing.
That's why I'm surprised at Rena answer.
Your answer is what, Zina?
Yeah. They would lost any.
She's saying they will lose anyway. It doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I don't know. Is that a yes or no?
All we want is yes or no. Is That's all we want. Carol Guevara says no. Kazim Mohammed says yes. Cascade St. Anne's says yes. Julia S. Batiste, yes. All right. Do you think the impasse with the 5 dissident UNC MPs will cost the UNC the elections? Yes or no?
I just
Good
want
morning.
to warn people.
Hold on a minute. Morning, caller.
Says yes.
All right. Good. Gotcha.
That there are a lot of posts going around on Facebook with lost children. It's a scam. It's a fake. It's a hoax. And a lot of people are sharing it. That children are lost and so on. It's a hoax, people.
All right. Michael Gradison says yes. Slick Money Grip, yes. Lester Craigwell, no. Masura, YC, yes. Adonna Clark, okay. Rena Jennings, Lester Craigwell. Okay, we just want yes or no, please. That's all we want. Good morning, caller. Good morning.
Good morning, Kansas City. No.
Thank you, Kansas City. Good morning, caller.
Yes. No.
No, thank you. Banging in that house.
Yes, I know that.
I think he said yes. No. Yeah. All right. Let's check WhatsApp. We have Vincent saying yes. Okay. Chris J says no. Jaron says yes. DJ Ray says yes. All right. Yeah. Do you think the impasse with the 5 distant UNC MPs will cost the UNC the elections? Yes or no?
Thanks, Matura. I saw it. I got the correction after. It's one of his chefs.
Yeah, one of his chefs. Adrian Kuto says yes.
Matura YC. What kind of name is that?
The name given. All right. You have 3 minutes to vote, Shayaf, before Avi walks in with our major news. All right. And of course, we have David West coming up afterwards. All right. Do you think the impasse with 5 distant UNC MPs will cost the UNC the elections? Yes or no? 6-2 power, which is 627-6937. Option number 5.
I don't know if you all saw the story of the school boy being robbed on Tragrit Road by the health center there after school by 2 guys.
It's such a busy road.
He entered a taxi. Exactly. I'm saying surely several people would have seen that happening before their eyes. And no one intervened.
You rob a school child. How much money do you think they really have?
$27. That's what I got from him.
Tone Luke says yes. David Wares says yes. Alistair Hart says yes. All right. Do you think the impasse with 5 distant UNC MPs will cost the UNC the elections? Yes.
That's what you're thinking. There's so many cameras in that area.
And so much traffic.
And traffic.
And that's already there.
Yeah.
You see that schoolboy getting rough up and rough and nobody do nothing. Man, if 3 people run out, that car, them fellas gone run.
Yes, really.
We had to take back this country. You see, that's how those young boys spontaneously ran to the rescue of that man that overturned, could have burned alive in a car. We need some kind of spontaneity with helping people out, man. I can't just watch somebody being robbed and do nothing. I'm sorry, yeah?
People are paralyzed by fear, Wendell.
Yes.
I'm hearing that, Paul, but I don't know that I just think this dokia damn hateful attitude that we have now, too many people have now, is just nauseating. It's nauseating. And that's why they do those experiments all the time on social media about people in the streets who begging or whoever thing, and to see who reacts or who being abused, and they will see how they react. Most time, if it's a woman abusing a man, nobody reacts. But people would have reacted if it was the opposite way around. They do those social experiments all the time because of the human being. Sick. Remember fishes and my turtles, yes? And I wish I could get back 2 dogs.
I could organize 2 dogs here.
You do have no cats?
Big king rats like what I had.
No cats?
Nah, I want no cat. Oh God, no. Please.
You want no cat?
Nope.
All right, gentlemen, let's run into our 7 o'clock major news. AV Sin Hill Bab is here.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
The brutal murder of a man, his wife, and teenage son rocks Pity Valley. The National Security Minister explains Christopher Christmasless Hughes why he was detained. Memorial service for Dr. Roy Cape to be held on September 16th. 2 Sea Lodge residents recognized for the bravery in reducing an accident or rescuing an accident victim. And Kamala Harris and Donald Trump clash in a high-stakes debate. Details in a moment. This is news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. I'm Avril Cynthia Bob. Good morning. A brutal triple murder has rocked Pity Valley as a family of 3, including a man, his wife, and teenage son, were executed on Monday night. The target was believed to have been the second son. The family allegedly refused to disclose his whereabouts, which led to their murder. 41-year-old Marlon Lee, his common-law wife, 34-year-old Selena Rodriguez, and his son, 17-year-old Malik Lee, were all shot multiple times by armed assailants around 9:36 p.m. at their home at Cedar Trace off Upper Pioneer Drive. Police reports confirmed that it was an execution-style killing and attributed the murders to gang violence. However, senior police officials were unable to verify a theory that the killings were meant to send a message to Lee's remaining offspring, a teenage boy who allegedly issued threats to a reported gang leader in the area. According to reports, the victims were asleep inside their home when Malik came out to use the toilet. It was believed he was ambushed and killed first, and that the gunshots alerted the adults inside. The gunmen reportedly came from the bushes behind the house and gained access to the home using the back door. People living close by initially thought the gunfire was fireworks, but they soon realized that something was wrong, and upon checking, they found Malik lying on the ground outside, bleeding from multiple gunshot wounds. He was wearing a pair of boxers and black 3/4 pants when he was gunned down. Residents alerted police, and officers arrived to find Marlon dead inside and a badly injured Rodriguez lying on the bed, alive and begging for help. She was taken to the St. James Medical Complex where she was treated but succumbed to her injuries around 10:35 p.m. Marlon and Malik were declared dead at the scene. National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hines yesterday explained why Canadian YouTuber Christopher Christmasless Hughes was ordered to be deported, saying it was just police and immigration working with the laws of the country. Asked about Hughes' third arrest while at the Hyatt Regency in Port of Spain for a conference, Hines said he does not arrest people, although he wished he could, but said that was a matter for the police. Hughes was ordered to be released from the Immigration Detention Center on Monday by High Court Judge Robin Mohammed. As part of his release, the 47-year-old reported to the Immigration Detention Center on Henry Street, Port of Spain, to be placed on a supervised list. Hughes was held on September 7th on a deportation order after the Ministry of National Security deemed him an undesirable inhabitant, according to Section 8, Paragraph Q of the Immigration Act, Chapter 1801. Hughes was freed after attorneys Jagdeep Singh, Jarrod Ramdeen, and Vashit Sipasad filed a judicial review challenging the deportation order. He is currently before the courts facing a charge of publishing a seditious statement, which carries a 2-year jail term or a $100,000 fine. His matter was adjourned to January next year. Meanwhile, National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hines has said that in the next 14 months, all the Coast Guard's 8 larger vessels will be back in operation. Hines was responding to questions from the media after the Organization of American States 2024 meeting of SECAD's group of experts on maritime narco trafficking at the Hyatt Regency Hotel, Port of Spain on September 10th. He said the Coast Guard vessels, like any other piece of equipment, require service and that from time to time there is mandatory service. On September 6th, during a press conference held by various leaders of national security at the Ministry of National Security in Port of Spain, Chief of Defense Staff Air Vice Marshal Daryl Daniel revealed the Coast Guard's fleet of 8 large patrol vessels, 6 Damen-Stad vessels, and 2 Austral Cape vessels are not functioning at present. Hines said as part of a recertification program, the vessels are being certified, serviced, and repaired and will be fully operational in 14 months. Trinidad and Tobago passport holders will soon need an electronic travel authorization or an ETA to visit the United Kingdom. Beginning January 2025, TNT passport holders, along with those from 48 other countries and territories, must obtain an ETA before traveling to the UK. Applications will open on November 27th, 2024, and can be submitted online or via the UK ETA app. The UK Home Office explained that ETAs introduced in 2023 are digitally linked to a traveler's passport and enhanced security checks before departure. A memorial service celebrating the life of musical icon and saxophonist Dr. Roy Papi Cape will be held on September 16th. It will take place at the National Academy for the Performing Arts in Port of Spain at 10 a.m. Dr. Cape passed away on September 5th this year. He has been a musical stalwart for several years and was responsible for guiding some of the nation's prominent soca artists such as Blacks and Destra. The East Port of Spain Development Company Limited has rewarded 2 Sea Lots residents for the bravery and humility displayed in rescuing a car accident victim recently. The company says it took note after reading of the men's positive actions in a report in the Guardian newspaper. 28-year-old Deshaun Hamilton and 43-year-old Terrence David reportedly sprang into action after witnessing a car accident near Production Avenue on the northbound lane of the Beetham Highway on Thursday, September 5th, 2024. The men pulled the victim, a police officer, from the wreckage despite concerns that the vehicle could explode at any moment. EPOS chairman Hillian Moraine was moved by the men's action, and which he said were deserving of a reward. The men were presented with tokens of appreciation following a meeting at the company's Laventille office. EPOS Deputy General Manager Nissa Hostan James commended the men for their bravery. She said EPOS seizes the opportunity to highlight positive actions and contributions from the often stigmatized communities of East Port of Spain. You are listening to news on Power 102 Digital to 7 o'clock. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris baited Donald Trump for nearly all of the 1 hour and 45 minutes of their first and potentially only debate on Tuesday night, and Trump took every bit of it. The vice president had prepared extensively for their debate and peppered nearly every answer with a comment designed to enrage the former president. She told Trump that world leaders were laughing at him and military leaders called him a disgrace. She called Trump weak and wrong. She said Trump was fired by 81 million voters, the number that voted for President Joe Biden in 2020. Trump was often out of control. He loudly, repeatedly insisted that a whole host of falsehoods were true. The former president repeated lies about widespread fraud in the 2020 election. He parroted a conspiracy theory about immigrants eating pets and lied about Democrats supporting abortions after babies are born, which is murder and illegal everywhere. He painted a dire picture of the United States reminiscent of the American carnage he'd warned of when he was inaugurated in 2017. Well, finally, here is weather news for the period today till midnight. Trinidad and Tobago, hot and sunny conditions will be interrupted by partly cloudy spells with occasional showers. There's a medium chance of isolated heavy showers or thunderstorms favoring late morning and mid-afternoon. Nighttime, mostly fair despite isolated showers. Please note gusty winds and street or flash flooding may occur in or near heavy showers or thunderstorms. Look out for a forecast maximum temperature of 33 degrees Celsius at Piarco International Airport and 32 degrees Celsius at Crown Point. It is 26 degrees Celsius at Piarco and 27 at Crown Point in Tobago. Recapping your headlines to 7 o'clock. The brutal murder of a man, his wife, and teenage son rocks Pity Valley. The National Security Minister explains Christopher Christmasless Hughes why he was detained. Memorial service for Dr. Roy Cape to be held on September 16th. 2 Sea Lots residents recognized for their bravery in responding to an accident victim. And Kamala Harris and Donald Trump clash in a high-stakes debate. I'm Afro Cynthia Bob. That was news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. Look out for more news in detail coming up at 12 noon. And at 8 o'clock, there's an update coming your way. For more details, log on to power102fm.com.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All right. Thank you so much, Avril, for our major news. You can join her again. Come at 8 o'clock with our news brief. Traffic, yep, everywhere. Got one accident to tell you about. It's on the Churchill Roosevelt Highway, and it is westbound by where? It is between Tumpuna Road and O'Mara Road. That's all right. So that's what the accident is. All right. Apart from that, yeah, what you see is what you're going to get. All right. All right, guys. Let's see if we have any more votes to deal with. We have Beauty Culture saying no. Cohen Duke saying yes. Esther Adams saying no. And that's it. That's it. All right. So let's get the results of our morning poll, where we asked you, do you think the impasse with the 5 dissident UNC MPs will cost the UNC the next general elections?
Well, I had 31 people voting on the poll this morning, and of the 31 people, 22 of you said yes. You do think it will cost them the general election. 9 of you said no. For a total of 31 people. Of course, you can continue to vote on this poll throughout the day and throughout programming, and we'll give you the final result tomorrow morning, which will be Thursday, as we drift rapidly towards the weekend. And of course, just reminding you that theater is on this weekend. On Sunday at Sapa, one show only. It's the final show of Lotto Madness at Sapa in San Fernando on Sunday the 15th at 6:30 p.m. It's one show only, San Fernando, on Sunday at Sapa at 6:30 p.m. Lotto Madness final show in San Fernando this weekend. Of course, tickets are on sale at Sapa today from 12 noon to 6 p.m. daily. And of course, the usual outlets already have tickets, which would be K Squared C3 Center, K Squared Gulf City, K Squared Brentwood Mall, Chagonas, and of course, Friends of Marabella Bad Roundabout. Get your tickets early.
All right. Thank you, Rich. There's another accident to tell you about. It's on the Solo southbound by Courts. Yeah, a vehicle is in the bushes on the left-hand side. So that's going to cause some back up there. Traffic is building. Thanks, Bobby. All right, so we're just waiting on our guest to come online. Should be there in a minute now.
And of course, our guest is
Mr. David West.
All right, the head of the Police Complaints Authority. Authority. David West was my opening batsman at one point in time and an opening bowler too. Good morning. Morning, Mr. West.
How are you going?
I'm good. Good to see you. Long time.
Good. How are you going? Oh, Dr. Richard, morning.
Good morning, Kenny.
Mr. Can, how are you?
I am good, buddy. How you doing?
I'm good.
I don't know why we are not hearing you clearly.
You don't hear
It
me
sounds
clearly?
as if something is over the microphone. That's how you sound. As if something is covering the microphone.
No, are you hearing me good now?
No,
The volume is quite low.
It's quite low.
Do we have time? We go and get an earplug then.
All right. Yeah, you could go and run and get an earplug. Nice tie, by the way.
David dressed to impress already early this morning, man. Probably going to
Dapper individual. Dapper.
I get panicky when people on camera and they just stand up like that, you know.
Oh, gee.
It's just like anything is possible these days with a video conferencing, you know.
I've seen jacket and ties with short pants and boxers.
Oh, yeah, not only short pants. So I said, let me pull it out the screen one time before we get in some problems here today. And people rush and put on jacket and shirt and tie and
the wearing boxers.
That's all you need, you know. You understand?
That's the nice thing about online.
Let me save him from himself, you know.
Credit one time.
Before he gets into trouble.
Of course, today being 9/11, and just to let you know, there were 14 nationals that perished in that attack, which happened at 8:46 in the morning.
All right, let's hear you now.
You hear me better?
Oh,
Testing,
wonderful.
testing.
Plenty better.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Fantastic. Thank you, David.
Sure, no problem.
I had to pull you out the feed you were rewinding, you know. You got up to get your headphones. We were hoping you were fully dressed, you know.
Of course I was. You know that.
We didn't want to give them any extra ratings this morning.
No.
All right, thanks for joining us. Of course, David West is the director of the Police Complaints Authority. So I saw recently that you made some comments on the issue of police body cams, TTPS body cams, and you were encouraging, you were advocating for more consistent use of body cams. What has your data from the PCA side told you about the issues that would have come to your attention, the reports that would have come to your attention, and how often police were wearing body cams?
Okay, the police, for the fatal police shootings thus far that we have investigated, we have not received any body cam footage from the police service. However, there were instances where there were non-fatal shootings and the police were wearing body cameras. However, for some reason, we did not obtain the footage because the footage was lost when in translation. So the short answer is, Paul, that we've had no body cam footage from the police service.
Put a full stop, comma there. You have not received footage from fatal encounters involving police.
Correct.
At all.
At all.
And for the ones that are non-fatal, where there was body cam footage, the footage was lost. What does that mean?
Well, in one matter, for example, they said the footage, the officer didn't turn on the camera. He had it on, but it wasn't turned on. And in another instance, it had fallen in some mud. And we didn't get the footage.
I didn't mean to laugh, eh? I didn't. My apologies for laughing. My goodness.
The camera fell into mud, and so the footage was not available.
Yes.
Have you had conversations with the Commissioner of Police about, or the DCP probably in charge of operations regarding these developments? Because the police leadership is on record as saying that their policy indicates that, particularly in high-stakes encounters, body cam, the wearing of body cam and the use of body cams, which police have been trained in, is standard operating procedure.
No, we haven't had discussions. I've written letters on advice via under the Act. We could issue advice to the Commissioner of Police. I've done that. I've had other discussions with other officers regarding body-worn cameras, informally, and formally, but I have not spoken with the Commissioner directly on the issue of the body-worn cameras. I saw Mr. Benjamin said, in an interview that they will make a better effort in wearing the body cameras. I am informed that they have ordered about 3,000 body cameras, and that should be rolled out sometime in September, October, and later on next year. So I am waiting patiently to see what happens with this when this first batch of body cameras is rolled out. I hope that with all the publicity surrounding the issue of body cameras now, the police will do the right thing and they would wear the body cameras on these investigations, and especially when it may or may not involve a police-involved shooting. For example, when they're going on a search warrant to search for arms and ammunitions, for example, or when they the task force is going on a on operation.
I'm when I heard you say that Justin, about the body cam fell into the mud, and that you've written to the commissioner and you haven't received responses, I'm actually taking deep breaths to maintain my composure, to be very honest. My reaction is actually one of a little anger because of the gravity of the situation, because it's almost like, you don't need to answer this. It's almost, I get the impression that the police service is taking us for fools. And you don't have to concur, but that's the impression I get when I hear this from someone like you in your position, who have the constitutional remit to get information, data, and cooperation from the police service to investigate police conduct.
Well, let me ask David, Paul, what was your reaction when that was told to you, Mr. West?
Well, in this job, you're given a lot of red herrings, all right? And so what I did is that we just wrote the commissioner on the file, stating that this happened and this was said, and please talk to your officers or make sure it doesn't happen again.
I don't know how. Let me move on from this. How cooperative have you ever received body cam footage from the police at all?
No body cam footage.
Never.
In
the history of your tenure as director of the Police Complaints Authority in investigating allegations of police misconduct, substantiated or not, you have never received body cam footage from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service?
As far as I know, looking through the files, we have never had body cam footage. We've had camera footage from cell phones, CCTV footage, etc., but never a body-worn camera issued to the TTPS.
How disturbing is that to you, given the police position on the use of body cams, the police having invested taxpayers' dollars in body cams that they now have in their position, the police investing time in training in the use of body cams, the police ordering 3,000 more body cams, the Minister of National Security on record is saying, as far as he's been told, body cam use is part of standard operating procedure. The police leadership saying police body cam use is part of standard operating procedure. But you, as the director of the PCS, are now able to say, hopefully uncontrovertibly, that you have never received footage from the police service in investigating these issues.
Yeah, that is correct, Paul. We have not received video footage, body cam footage.
Let me ask this question then, Mr. West. Are you aware, were you ever made aware in any of the investigations that have come before you that there was in fact body cam footage but was not provided outside of the camera that fell in the mud and the ones that were lost in time? Are you aware of any other incident that there was in fact body cam footage but it wasn't provided to you?
Well, if there was body cam footage and it wasn't provided to me, that would be a breach of the act. And, there are sanctions for that. But as far as I know, from our investigations we have done thus far, we have not received any body-worn camera footage from the TTPS.
Let's widen the conversation. Body cam footage is evidence that you can use in investigating. And very often we think because the PC is investigating, it automatically means police officers are guilty of something. That's not so. You're investigating to ascertain whether or not allegations of improper conduct are true or not. And very often they are proven to be incorrect and unsubstantiated. Correct?
That is correct, yes.
So that people, very often they get this impression that, well, the PCA out to get the police, and that is not true. The PCA is a constitutional unit. Do you, given that you have not received body cam footage, do you get a sense that you have access to or have received other forms of evidence in your investigation of issues that come to your attention or are reported to you?
Yes, we do get evidence, other forms of evidence. We get the station diary extracts, we get the forensic evidence, we get all the other evidence, Paul, that we request and that we know of. Okay, and how we do know that is because sometimes we audit the police file, so we see the types of evidence that the police can get from when we order the file. For example, we get E99 calls. When there's a call out, we can get that. We know the vehicles that were used. We know the officers involved. So we do get detailed reports from the police, which I'm thankful for. But when we're talking about the body-worn camera footage, we do not get that footage. We get all the other evidence, but for some reason, the body-worn camera footage is non-existent.
Have you ever received dash cam footage?
No.
Or in some of the cars, they have an overhead camera. Have you ever received footage from those?
Not as far as I'm aware, no.
So video footage has not formed part of the evidence that has been provided by the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service to the Police Complaints Authority.
Yes.
Do you have cause to interact with the Police Service Commission for any reason?
The commissioner or commission?
Commission.
Yes, I do interact with the Police Service Commission, yes.
Because the Police Service Commission evaluates the performance of the commissioner and or the deputy commissioners, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Does the issue of that level of accountability ever come up in those conversations? I'm not expecting you to divulge confidential conversations, but as part of their assessment, has that been asked of you?
Okay, to answer that question, I don't want the, for reasons of confidentiality, we are asked, PCA is given a form to evaluate the commissioner and deputy commissioner, and I won't go into details about what is on and what is not on the form.
And I'm assuming that's a constitutional remit.
Well, yes.
Form. It is.
Well, it's from the Police Service Commission.
Okay.
The PCA publishes annual reports on reports and investigations regarding the TTPS in general. Would you say that you are seeing more reports that you have to investigate? And if you could give us a sense of the trends that you're seeing regarding your 21, 22, 23, 24 reports versus what comes out of the investigations regarding police issues and misconduct. Is there an improvement because of the oversight mechanism in terms of what you can see? Or are there areas that you think that there needs to be improvement? I know you provide recommendations also.
Well, there are always areas of improvement. And what we have found was that the reports have been increasing. For example, I could tell you that in 2024 to 2015, 1 year, we had 321 complaints. Then in 2017 to 2018, we had 420 complaints. And then it peaked in 2022-23 when we had 713 complaints. So from 2014 to 2024, June of this year, we've had 4,411 complaints. Of that, 495 matters were referred to the Commissioner of Police, 121 matters referred to the DPP, 66 matters referred to both COP and DPP, and we proffered advice to the Commissioner of Police on 219 matters. And regarding the Police Service Commission, we offered advice on 1 matter to the Police Service Commission.
Is there a time frame within which someone can complain to the PCA?
Yes, under the Act, it says a year, but however, it's up to the discretion of the director or deputy director to take the matter after 1 year, depending on the circumstances of why they took so long to report it. Plus, you have to remember also, we need to gather the evidence.
Right.
And gathering evidence from a matter happening 2 months is difficult enough compared to gathering a matter that happened a year ago, because of course, station diary extracts. Yeah. The books change, the books go into warehousing or whatever it is. And, it's just a delay, and the longer the delay, the longer the evidence, and the harder the evidence will be to collect.
Right. So for the purposes of information, Mr. West, if you could take us through the process, how someone can make a complaint to the PCA. And I'm going specifically, let's say that last incident with the policewoman with the camouflage rag. Right. If that girl wanted to take a complaint to the PCA, how should she go about doing it?
Okay, there are several methods she can go about doing it. I would say the one method will be to come into the PCA at level 24 Tower D by the Hyatt. Or in Tobago, we have an office in Tobago, in Bacalet Street in Tobago. She comes into the PCA and says that I need to make a complaint. She's then taken to our complaints officers, who take the complaint in as much detail as possible. That complaint is then tracked to our legal department to determine whether or not it falls within remit. That is, whether or not it's a serious disciplinary offense, a criminal offense, or police corruption. Once that happens, she gets a letter within 7 days saying that the matter is within remit or it's not within remit. Once it is not in remit, she gets a letter stating so. If it is within remit, she gets a letter stating that, and also to the contact information for her investigator. The investigator will then contact the complainant and say, I have your complaint, I've read your statement, but you need to come in to make a further statement because X and Y wasn't taken. So that would happen. Once that happens,
sorry, go ahead.
Once the statement is taken, it may or may not be taken, but once it is done, it is then, the investigator then goes out and investigates the matter. So the legal department then gives the investigator a remit, for example, discreditable conduct, misbehavior in public office. So they're looking for they're looking for evidence to prove these factors. Now, during the course of an investigation, of course, other issues may arise, which the investigator will come to the legal officer and say this, and then they would then expand the remit as the case may be. Once that has happened...
At what point in time is the officer informed?
Well, that will happen later on, because remember, this is a confidentiality matter. So I'll come to that.
Okay.
So once the investigation is completed, the investigator then does his report. His report is then sent to the legal department to assess. So the legal department then assesses whether or not the evidence gathered and the statements gathered are sufficient to justify the remit offenses outlined. If it is not, they go back and do further work. If it is, the legal department then does a memo to the director or the deputy director. And that memo outlines the evidence, everything that will be done to show that there is a case to answer or there's not a case to answer. We will then look at the remit. We will go through the file from the complainant's first statement to when it's arrived at our desk, and we will decide whether or not to make a referral or not. Okay. Now, if we make a referral, well, before we make the referral, and we have evidence at the point in time to issue what we call a defaulter letter to the commission, to the officer, we will then issue a defaulter letter saying, listen, this has happened. This is the evidence. Of course, in the letter, you've given your constitutional right to remain silent, which they can. Do you want to say anything about it? And at that point, the officer is alerted to a complaint has been made against him. And he can or cannot, he may or may not issue a statement to us. If he doesn't, well, we go on the evidence we have and make a referral. If he does make a statement and it's a plausible statement, well, then we don't make the referral.
Okay.
Now, among the recommendations in the last report that I had sight of, there are disciplinary issues, there are misbehavior in public office, there's discreditable conduct, and in some instances, there are recommendations for the DPP to look at the file for consideration for criminal charges. Would that be correct?
That's correct.
Have any of the recommendations been acted upon in the last 2 years, 3 years?
Yes, the DPP has issued. They have been investigated. The DPP has agreed with our findings and has gone on to what he does, and he goes on to issue the complaint to the Commissioner of Police. This is a matter worth investigating, and then our file is handed over to an investigator to look at the matter. Now, many times, of course, in fatal police shootings, for example, the police are also doing an investigation. But of course, we would have their file because we are allowed to ask for their police investigation files. So we would have their file, and their file will form part of the evidence that we will be using. So in theory, it should be really the police, our PCA file should be handed over to the PCA, the police investigator, to move forward, and just to, because we may have some statements that he doesn't have, etc. And then it should be, whether or not the police officer is satisfied that there's enough charges, there's enough evidence to issue a charge. He would then go back to the DPP and say, DPP, listen, we have this X, Y, and Z. What do we do? And the DPP will say, yes, go ahead and charge, or no, there's not enough evidence, don't go ahead and charge.
How closely do you work with the Professional Standards Bureau?
How closely, sorry, Paul?
You work with the Professional Standards Bureau?
Oh, very closely, very closely. I work closely with all of the units and departments within the police service, Homicide Bureau, Fraud Squad. I have contacts with the other officers that, I call. So, many times I can call an officer and get information based on an investigation. And so I have a very good relationship with the police service.
So you don't encounter the blue wall of silence?
It happens, because what happens is that the officers that, we have grown accustomed to have transferred, moved on, and new officers come in. And there is the initial blue wall of silence. But once we discuss with them what we are doing, or what we want to do, and how we go about doing it, they understand that, as Paula said earlier, we're not out to get them, out to prosecute them. We are out to find the truth. We are doing an independent civilian investigation. And wherever the truth, because we have closed many files. We have closed a lot of files, all right, because of insufficient evidence. We found the complainant has, lost his or her number. And there's just not the evidence there. I mean, they may have thought that there was the evidence, and we have investigated the matter, but the evidence does not reach that standard of a referral to the COP or DPP. So it is a just and independent investigation.
David, how involved is the PCA at the level of the Police Training Academy? And is the remit of the PCA part of the curriculum of police officers being trained?
Thanks for that question, Richard. Yes, we are involved with the training. Every batch that comes out, before or after they either when they now come in or sometime during their training, the PCA comes in and gives a discussion to the police, to the trainees. Okay. And I also, before that, I was also asked to do a discussion on ethics with the with senior officers also as part of their training also. So Mr. Simon Alexis, the provost for the academy, I knew him, I know him very well, and he has encouraged that, and so I look forward to continuing with the education with the TTPS. And that lecture, let me tell you, was very enlightening and very well received. And it was about 2 hours, and it felt like about 5 minutes, because the engagement with the officers and what they said and to me and the interaction was beautiful. And I really, really enjoyed that. I get a lot of criticism that we're out to get the police, or I say things but the police, I believe that the majority of police officers understand what I want to do and what PCA is about. However, there are some officers there that just cannot get over the fact that a civilian has certain powers that can compel the police to do something. And that has to change. Okay, and that is what we're trying to work on, because the police must understand that they're not a law unto themselves, and that they have there's a independent civilian body established by an act of parliament that allows them to get certain information when they are doing an investigation, a legitimate investigation.
How much legal remit do you have to procure evidence from sources outside of the police service? For example, if there's an incident on Independence Square and there's CCTV cameras.
Any public body. We can get evidence from any public body.
Have you gotten evidence from public bodies when for example, video evidence? Can you
yes.
ask or demand or legally require a private enterprise or a public body to supply evidence, including video footage?
Yes, and we have done that before in the past, and let me tell you, they are very willing to assist the PCA in their investigation. Once we show them the proper, the letter we issue, the standard letter we issue, and they cite in the act, and it goes to their legal department, they understand that what we're doing is legitimate and it is for the good of the country. And yes, we do get video footage from private and public bodies.
There was an incident in Independence Square about 2-3 years ago. I think it was just before COVID,
correct,
where police were in pursuit of a car with some young men.
Yes.
I think the car ended up crashing somewhere in Independence Square, probably in the vicinity of Central Bank Towers or Republic Bank, somewhere there.
Republic Bank, yes.
Republic Bank. And the end of the encounter was that the young men inside the car were shot. I think they died. Yeah. Had that issue come to the attention of the PCA, did you investigate that?
Yes, Paul, we investigated that matter. We made recommendations, and that has gone for a coroner's inquest.
Oh, describe to us what a coroner's inquest is, please.
Well, when a person dies and they're not sure of how the person has died, it goes for a coroner's inquest before a coroner, which is really a magistrate, to hear the evidence to determine whether or not the death was lawful or unlawful. And let me tell you,
case?
Pardon?
Did you get footage in that case?
Yes, we did get footage in that case. And let me take it a step further. I know, Paul, you were in Parliament in 2021, when the Act was amended to allow the PCA to become an interested party in coroner's inquests. That is working. Paul, you don't know how that has increased our work, which was very good, but the coroners call upon us to come into the inquest now in fatal police shootings and see what evidence we can give or try to assist them in getting witnesses. Because from 2015 or before, we have evidence or information on most police-involved shootings. So we have all the evidence, the statements that they need, and the police say they can't get. So we are there to take part in the inquest and assist the coroner. We are involved in 19 matters so far, and I have been personally involved in about 4 or 5 matters that are currently going on. So that Paul really was Parliament at its best working, and I want to thank you and all the parliamentarians for that amendment to the Coroner's Act, because we are really fully involved in all coroner's inquests now. What we will do now is it will speed up the coroner's inquest, and we have all the evidence available for the coroner to hear both sides, a balanced story, to determine what he or she should recommend.
And for a lot of people listening this morning, Mr. West, they would find the process long, inordinately long and drawn out. When in some cases they look at it and find it obvious. How is that to be dealt with?
Well, it is long, and the adjourned dates are long, but there is a backlog, and I don't think anybody could argue that there's not a backlog in the criminal justice system. I know the recent amendments of a JIPA and all the judge alone trials, all that will take some time to filter down. But I see that, you know, the workload or the burden from the magistracy has moved to the masters and the high court judges. So we can get more, the coroner's inquest now can, you know, they will have more time to do the coroner's inquest. And all I will say, it will take time, but I think that there's been an increasing amount of judges hired, magistrates. So I'm hoping that, you know, the efficiency and the speed of the criminal justice system would benefit the public of Trinidad and Tobago.
Is the PCA involved currently in the investigation of the police-involved deaths in St. Augustine and recently in Central Trinidad?
Yes, Paul.
So those are ongoing investigations? Ongoing.
Every police fatal and non-fatal shooting, the PCA investigates.
Now, have your interventions and your report impacted the police use of force policy at all, and training regarding the use of force policy?
That's a good question, Paul. I cannot say whether or not the PCA has impacted upon the use of force policy and the training, because we don't do training on use of force policy. But what I can say is that in every police-involved shooting, there's always a line in the report saying that the police acted on the use of force policy. So the police are aware of the policy. They are aware what they should and should not do.
But I asked the question based on the fact that there's a recent, and I can't verify whether it's actually accurate or not, but it was reported in one of the major dailies that the police were involved in an encounter with people who where guns were found in the vehicle after the report didn't state whether there was an exchange of gunfire. I think the police indicated they felt their lives were under threat. So sometimes and I fully endorse police defending their own lives.
And I do, Paul.
I fully endorse that the criminal element should not be made to feel that police will not accelerate the situation if they feel that their lives are threatened.
That's correct.
Course, like in the US, like in the UK, like in other jurisdictions, there is sometimes a very fine line between, what you can identify as the proper policy being followed or not if you don't have the evidence to follow the situation as it went along. How does that impact your investigations when there's no body cam footage, when there's no, in some instances, there's no CCTV footage, when you are depending on a police account versus an eyewitness or family account, and both sides may have their own interests to support?
Well, what we do is we try to get the civilian side of the version of events. If it was a fatal police shooting, for example, we try to get the independent, this footage if it is available, and we get the police reports, and we evaluate them. Of course, what is important is the forensic evidence in terms of the post-mortem report, where we can see how many bullets were fired, the angle of the bullets, whether or not he shot in his back or his front. So there are various methods that the investigators can use and that we do use to evaluate the evidence and come to a decision.
Another issue that is, I guess, I think may come to your attention, you can tell me if we're wrong, is the issue of reports against officers who may be subject to domestic violence accusations. Yes. And because police are precepted, they have, in some instances, can take home firearms. Yes. There are some instances we've seen in the public domain, not only in the police service, but in other law enforcement agencies where it's ended quite tragically. And you hear stories that women and men make reports that, well, they're the subject of domestic violence and they fear for their lives. Do those kinds of reports come to you? And what is the prevalence of those types of reports?
Yes, those reports do come to us. The reports have been increasing within the last 2 to 3 years of domestic violence, of officers with firearms threatening either civilians or other female officers. There was one example recently that the deputy director dealt with. She liaised with me on the matter, but I can tell you that there was an incident, and the deputy was able to contact the commissioner of police, explain to her what was transpiring. The commissioner of police then went to the house and seized the firearm from the officer and awaited our investigations to give her the backing or to show the evidence of the complaints and the reports made. So the commissioner was very proactive. She understood an investigation was going on. This could be end badly, and she diffused it by taking away the firearm.
So the commissioner went herself and seized
not the commissioner.
She sent an officer to seize.
She sent officers to seize the officer.
Well, that action is very commendable on the part of the commissioner.
It is very commendable, and it shows that that trust, because it was the deputy said, we're compiling the file. It'll be ready in 1 or 2 days. But before that, listen, the matter is escalating. Please do something about it before it gets bad, and she did. So that is very commendable on the commissioner of police.
Well, let me ask this question then. Do you encounter pressures from the police officers in case of senior officers involved in these things? Pressures as to back off?
No, that would never happen. I mean, I've never encountered that, and I don't think my investigators have encountered that because they'd have complained to me. But if an officer does that, that would be a serious offense, and that would be definitely investigated.
Okay. But do you get also apprehension from them to further investigation.
What we do sometimes, and this is what I was talking about earlier, the officers would say, well, we need a letter from the Commissioner of Police to authorize you to look at the station diaries, or we need a letter, this letter is not good enough. So, and when they're not aware of our powers. So some of them try to, I would say, I won't say they deliberately try to slow down the investigation, but what they do is, because they don't know the law, they don't give us the evidence in a timely manner. Yeah. But that is easily fixed, because I would then speak with the senior officer in charge of the division or the station, and once I talk to them, they would then allow us to go in and view the books, or whatever matter we wanted.
And you did say earlier on, sorry, Paul, you did say earlier on your relationship with the PSB is good, and you're satisfied with the work that they're doing there? Because we have had issues over the PSB on this show.
No, Ms. Martin was there, and we had a good relationship. Mr. Marshan is there, who I discuss things with, and we have a good relationship. And also the other officers I call in the PSB. So I have not had encountered any difficulties. As far as I know, they're overburdened. They're doing a lot of work, and they're trying. You know, so I cannot say anything negative about the PSB at all, or in fact about most of the other units in the police service that I interact with. It's mainly comes from the division or the station, the station that may want to give us make it a little difficult for us to obtain the evidence, but not generally speaking in the police service, no.
Now, I know we've had discussions about this before, but has there been any progress made on your recommendations to the Office of the Attorney General for continued evolution of the Police Complaints Authority Act to give the authority more power in specific areas that you ask for, that you think will more effectively empower the authority to do its job better?
Well, there is, there's always a burden. Just to let the public know that we do not arrest, charge, or prosecute anybody. We do the investigation, and we make a referral to the Commissioner of the Police or the Commissioner or the Director of Public Prosecutions. There has always been the feeling that when somebody comes to the PCA to makes a complaint, they expect it to be resolved by the PCA, because that's who they made the complaint to. So there's the feeling that we should maybe prosecute our matters because we have the evidence. We get things quicker, and we don't have a backlog, and we could be more efficient in that manner. It's been discussed informally with the Attorney General, but we have not sat down we have not put forward a policy document on that, because Paul, you would understand that going to Parliament would be a whole discussion. It'll be a huge debate, because we are a civilian-based body. We are not a prosecutorial body. So therefore, that change has to become from Parliament. All right, and I don't know if that is what the direction that the government or a government may want to go, whether or not to hand us the power to prosecute our matters. So that's a whole discussion that needs.
That's a really big move to it.
Exactly. So
that's running concurrently with the Office of the DPP.
Well, yes, but some bodies do prosecute matters, like the EMA example, do prosecute. And the DPP, we have spoke. If the DPP gives us a fiat, for example, we can prosecute our matters, because we have attorneys in our office that can prosecute. And we've spoken to the DPP about that, and he has said yes, in certain matters he would grant the fiat. So there is that going on, but I think before we reach that stage, there are other things we can do, like the amendment to the coroner's inquest and other amendments we can do to still remain within that ambit of a civilian body. For example, INDICOM in Jamaica, they had an issue where they went to the Privy Council because they were charging persons or arresting persons And the Privy Council said, no, you can't do that. That is not within your remit. You are a civilian-based body. So we want to make sure that if we do put in the policy, we have the correct, proper research and everything, all that is done properly before we could move forward to put it to any Attorney General.
Anything else you want to add before we close, David West?
Yeah, but we're having a outreach coming up on the 17th of September at City Hall, Port of Spain City Hall, and then I guess later on the 26th in San Fernando. But anybody, I want persons to come out to City Hall on the 17th between 6 and 8 o'clock, hear what the PCA has to offer, and we're actually doing footage and on the body cameras and to show the public what the body camera can do and how it should be operated.
Should the public be the target of that, or the police service?
Well, the police could come too.
The police could come too.
The public is doing quite well with their body cams.
Yes, but yeah, I know. But we want the public to come and to give them a better idea, to make sure that to know, understand, and hear what we can do, and what we can and cannot do. So I look forward to a large turnout, and I want to see. I want to field questions. I like to field questions. That's more interactive. It's more of a conversation between us and the public. I mean, we're targeting up to St. Augustine, San Juan Barataria, Laventille, Port of Spain area, Belmont, all the hotspot areas. So
it's a series of interfaces?
Well, we're doing Port of Spain, San Fernando, and then we have to get Tobago.
Okay.
Before the end of the year.
Send me a WhatsApp so I can remind them on the 16th and the 17th, please.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
Right. David West, thanks for being with us this morning. Yep. Thank you for your continued service, and we appreciate you being with us.
I appreciate the time. Thank you. Have a good day, gentlemen.
All right.
Take care.
You, David. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right.
All right. Of course, that was Director of the PCA, Mr. David West.
He has his work cut out for him. No footage, camera footage ever. Could you imagine that?
No, I can imagine that.
I could.
My goodness. None whatsoever, whether fatal or otherwise.
It's very interesting that the two pieces of footage, one they didn't turn it on, the other one fell in the mud.
Yeah. And the issue in Miami, the incident in Miami, it's police body cam footage that showed the actual incident that happened with Tyreek Hicks.
Yeah.
You understand?
They released that video quickly because the police chief said because of transparency.
Yeah. Because it showed you the officer approaching the car, knocking on the glass. Tyreek wound down the glass and said something to him and then put it back up. And that is what incensed them, that the fact that he put back up his glass, They opened that door and drag him out that car, no.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen, let's wrap it up for this Hump Day Wednesday.
You all have a great day out there. Be safe as you go about your day this Wednesday.
Yes, folks, have an absolutely wonderful Wednesday. Remember to let go and let go.
Wait. Richard, you see the prayers work. You're healed.
Thanks for your prayers, Paul.
He knows that, Paul. If he don't know prayers work. But the monk, I say too.
But thank you, Wendell.
Anyway, my friend, we'll talk later.
All right. Have a fantastic day, people. Of course, theaters on this weekend, Sunday at 6:30 p.m. This Sunday at 6:30 p.m. The final show in San Fernando of Lotto Madness. You should not miss it. You can check RSRR Productions Theater to see all the comments concerning the show. We had a wonderful show at Queen's Hall over the weekend. This is the final show, San Fernando. Of course, tickets available at the Sapa box office from today, 12 noon to 6 p.m. daily. And tickets also available at K Squared Fashions C3 Center, K Squared Fashions Gulf City, and K Squared Fashions in Brentwood Mall in Chagonas, as well as Friends of Marabella by the Roundabout. That's where you can get your tickets. You can also purchase tickets online, but you can check RSRR Productions Theater on social media for the process to do so. Do not miss it. Trust me on this one. Have a fantastic day, whatever you do. And remember to smile and laugh. It's great for your health. Have a good one.
All right. Thank you, Rich, Wendell, Paul. Till tomorrow morning. Of course, Evie is in for your 8 o'clock news brief, followed by Denise Deming, which will take you across to 9 o'clock. And then Sir Charles is in the building to take you through. All right. All right. Let's get into our 8 o'clock news brief. As I said, Evie is in.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
It is time for 8 o'clock update. I'm Avril Sintel Bob. Good morning. We have not received footage from fatal outcomes involving officers from the police. So although they were wearing body cams, they did not make the footage available. This is according to Director of the Police Complaints Authority, David West, who told the Power Breakfast Show this morning that he was informed that new body cameras have been ordered and will arrive next year. He said he's hoping that the police will make liberal use of them, especially when they're carrying out searches and other duties. West said as far as he knows, the PCA has never received body cam footage from the TTPS. He said they've received phone footage, but never body cam footage from the police. West said that he works with the Professional Standards Bureau, the Fraud Squad, and all arms of the TTPS, so at any time he can contact them to get evidence and information on a matter. He said that they understand that the PCA is not out to get them, but are in pursuit of truth. He revealed, however, that many times cases have been closed because of a lack of evidence, numbers have been lost, etc. He said that private and public bodies have been approached to provide video footage for their investigations. He noted once they're shown proper documentation, they have been willing to cooperate. He maintained that the PCA investigates all police-involved killings. A brutal triple murder has rocked Pity Valley as a family of 3, including a man, his wife, and teenage son, were executed on Monday night. The target was believed to have been the second son. The family allegedly refused to disclose his whereabouts, which led to their murder. 41-year-old Marlon Lee, his common-law wife, 34-year-old Selena Rodriguez, and his son, 17-year-old Malik Lee, were all shot multiple times by armed assailants around 9:36 p.m. at their home at Cedar Trace off Upper Pioneer Drive. 2 former senior central bank officials have called for a speedy resolution and even apologies over the $2.6 billion discrepancy impasse between the Auditor General and the Ministry of Finance. One of them has also questioned why the central bank failed to meet with the Auditor General, Jayawanti Ramdas, to help in settling the dispute once and for all. During an interview with Guardian Media yesterday, Dr. Terence Farrell and Winston Dukaran maintained that a meeting between Ramdas and Central Bank Governor Dr. Alvin Hilaire must be facilitated immediately. And further afield, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump met in a fiery debate, their first of the 2024 U.S. presidential election. They debated policy, but personal attacks also dominated the 90-minute event. Harris said people leave Trump rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. He said people don't go to hers in the first place. Trump criticized Harris' record on immigration on the border and also her shifting policy positions. Harris blamed him for Trump abortion bans and 6th January attacks on the U.S. Capitol. Snap polls suggest Harris won the debate, but Trump said afterwards that she lost very badly. With the election taking place on 5th November, Harris is slightly ahead in national opinion polls, but key battleground states are very tight. Well, that was your update to 8 o'clock. Look out for news in full at 12 noon.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All right. Thank you so much, Avril, for our major news. You can join her again. Come at noon today alongside Sir Charles for a major newscast. All right. The intro. So let's say good morning going out to Denise Deming on this Hump Day Wednesday, 9/11.
Thank you very much, Steve, and good morning. And welcome, Nyla, to Power Conversations. I'm Denise Deming. I host this on a Monday and Wednesday from 8 a.m. And we try to dig deeper into issues that are trending our country. Our guest this morning is an absolutely fabulous young woman. Tell us, who are you, Nyla?
I am Dr. Nyla Adams Moranci. I am a family medicine and sports medicine specialist hailing from Trinidad and Tobago, and I appreciate the opportunity to be speaking with you all today.
what is your passion?
My passion is health. My passion is peace. My passion is freedom. I do believe in having the optimal mental and physical health and well-being, especially of the young people of our nation. And so that's where I put all of my energy into my career, my personal life, my community engagement, is really and truly for the health and well-being of the young people.
That is so wonderful to hear a young person talking about the health and well-being of young people, because that's so important for our future.
Yes.
How long have you been involved in this, the sports side of it? Because I wasn't very aware of that.
Yes. So as long as I could remember from my days at Bishop Anstey High School, I have learned in the way that we are raised at Bishops, to be raised up in godliness and good learning, to be women of purpose and serve our communities around us. So as long as I could remember, I've always wanted to make sure that those around me are better, and healthier and happier. Even before that, from the age of 6 years old, I started off at La Jolla Sports Tropic Camp at Easter and over the August holidays. From the age of 6, my mother and father had me there, and that is where I was exposed to a myriad of sports, a myriad of disciplines. And as in my childlike innocence, I noticed that the happiest children were the healthiest children. We were able to move, jump, run, get up and go. Things as I get older, I very much took for granted to be able to get up from a chair without making noises. But even from 6 years old, we were able to get exposed there. And so from that experience at La Jolla, in St. Joseph on Eastern Main Road, eventually I learned that, in going into medicine, that sports could be a part of my life. And I didn't know that until I got to probably university. And so the path, just everything just came together. I remember I was at Bishop's and I was walking across the courtyard talking to one of my friends, and I told him I wanted to be an Olympic physician because I had seen Merlene Ottey, I had seen Dominique Dawes. Later on, I had seen Ato Bolden in the Olympics, and I knew I just wanted to take care of those athletes. And because of the respect that I had for them and the admiration for the discipline that they put in. But even if you're not an elite athlete, you can also still be healthy. And so again, the paths just aligned throughout my education and career, to get me into the level of community engagement in sport, and health that I have right now.
Nyla, you've just taken me back to La Jolla.
Yes.
And what was an excellent camp for children.
Correct.
All the sports that was involved. What is your fondest memory of your participation in that La Jolla camp?
I would say the community that we formed. I am still so close with folks that I met when I was 6, 7, 8, and 9 years old. And so that bond that we were able to build, through being on teams, bringing our strengths together as individuals, and lifting each other up. Like, not everybody is great at basketball or cricket or football, but you will learn whatever you could contribute, you can do, you can learn, and there'll always be a teammate there, to uplift you. I remember that so clearly, that level of community and loyalty that we had for each other, that I still have decades, I wouldn't call my age, but decades later, that same community that we were able to build again through sport and physical activity. Uncle Richard, wherever you may be, I don't know where you are. I don't even know your last name. I know you as Uncle Richard from La Jolla, the first person to show me how to lift a dumbbell. And so I'd been lifting since I was 11 years old upstairs in La Jolla, swimming, doing all of those things again, because they understood, the importance and the ability of children to be physically active even at such a young age.
That is absolutely wonderful. I just want to go back to one more thing.
Sure.
You talked about going to Bishops.
Yes.
I didn't go to Bishops. Some people think I went to Bishops, but I'm not a Bishops girl. What is your memory of Bishops and sports?
I mean, outstanding. From Form 1 PE, Miss Rhea Mark, may she rest in peace. We love Miss Mark. She's the best PE teacher ever. Even if we didn't have netball, even if we didn't have cricket that day, she'll make us pick up bottles around the school for environmental sciences. And you again, something physical, squatting, standing, twisting. All of those are just all movements. And she's a brilliant woman, an outstanding tennis player. Of course, that was his specialty. But with Bishop's all the way through physical education class, again, in a team community setting. When I got to Form 4, I joined the netball team. And then I was games captain and netball team captain as we, grew. And what that allowed was, again, not just being around other girls in sports, but, the formative years of learning how to be a leader through sports. Sport is a vehicle for so much change. I get very, very passionate about this, you could tell. So sports is a vehicle for so much change. In whatever situation you may be. And Bishop Anstey High School has one of the strongest programs I know of to really encourage young women who attend the school to stay physically active and participate in sport, not just as athletes, but as leaders.
Mm-hmm. Again, your conversation brought me to two things there. One, the issue of when you didn't have PE, you had to go and pick up bottles or pick up trash in the school.
Correct.
And that is something that I don't see happening today in schools. So they seem to have lost that capacity to train our young people about their responsibility with regard to trash and garbage and so on. So it's something I wish that we would continue to do, And the second thing that you brought to my mind is what I am seeing as an objection by young people. It is too hot to go and do PE. What's your response to that?
Okay, climate change is real. Yes. So it is hotter, a few degrees hotter. That is a proven scientific fact. But if it is warm outside, what indoor things can we do? So young people on social media is different from how we had it, right? The sun was still hot. But to address the first point, there was a level of citizenship that was instilled in us because the adults instilled it in us. And so it's not just the children, they're children. Still, they do have some owners. They do have to take some ownership and responsibility because they can make many other decisions. So they could choose to physically participate in the activity as well. The adults as well setting the example for going out and picking up the trash and not complaining about how hot it is. We have, as the adults, have to be emulated. We need to show the behavior to be emulated by the students and the children so that they can understand and gain that appreciation, even just by seeing and mimicry. Even if they may not understand the existential effect later on, just by mimicry alone, which is a natural pathway that we have, they can do it that way. Or meet them where they are. If it's too hot outside, find the energy to formulate something inside that is engaging. Ask them what they want to do. We can guess what they want to do, again, based on our own experiences that we will bring to every situation that is a natural implicit bias that we have. Just ask them what they want to do. What engages them? What makes them move? What would they want to do, if nothing else?
Yeah, and that brings me to something that I discovered about you, your interest in childhood obesity.
Correct.
Tell me about that.
Absolutely. Again, first thing I've written, I remember I've written so many personal statements across my various educational efforts about La Jolla and the happiest children. And one of the mantras we have is every child has a right to be their happiest and healthiest self. And
Can you say that again? Nyla?
Absolutely. This is absolutely. So, and there's a separate organization that we have, Run for Life Trinidad and Tobago, which is a school-based movement. And our mantra is every child has the right to be their happiest and healthiest self. Because we truly believe that. That is, again, from my childlike innocence, just seeing children across various spectra of gifts in La Jolla. And again, not everybody has to be a sprinter. There are people who would do shot, but they would have people who do other movements, and so rugby. So again, it's not a look. It is not a look. It is an activity, right? It is really how can they move. And so in doing so, we firmly believe that every child has a strength in something active, right? If it's not long jump, they could climb trees. You could be a rock climber, right? You could carry 2 water buckets from the standpipe up to your house, right? You could do weightlifting, right? So every child, again, if they're taught, if they're shown and given the opportunity and the chance and supported, again, if not at the home, they do have the support, the community, other family members, the schools, so many different institutions that can support children in their movements. And because of the absolute deleterious effects of childhood obesity into adolescent obesity and then into adult obesity, we're seeing so many non-communicable diseases trickling down into earlier and earlier ages. And that creates such a negative effect and burden on the society from an economic perspective, straining the healthcare system, and an individual as well. Bullying, low self-esteem, so many aspects, low grades, attrition, right? So many things that can come as a result that could so easily intervened upon if we just make the effort to do so and recognize it for what it is.
When you say it's easily intervened upon, give me an example of how. What do you mean by that?
Absolutely. Much, much easier said than done. But in terms of thought, so again, it is easy to engage a child in conversation and ask them, what would you like to do today? Right? It is not necessarily easy to, after a long day of work, for a parent or a guardian to then find the energy for ourselves, because I include myself in that, for ourselves to go and exercise. However, if we are truly committed to helping our children understand the importance of health and well-being, if we're truly committed to that, we have to make the effort within ourselves. So when I say it is easily done, there are many options available. It is the effort and the mental strength and fortitude and commitment and discipline that takes time. Absolutely. But there are many opportunities available. For instance, one of the other nonprofit organizations we have, for instance, Race to End Childhood Obesity, Trinidad and Tobago. We've created a series of events for children and adolescents all around physical activity, right? So research has shown that talking to children about obesity actually makes them gain weight. And they're trying to tease out why that happens, why they have that counterproductive response. But what we have chosen, the approach that we've chosen is through physical activity, because everybody could move, again, of all abilities, right? Of all abilities, whatever you can do it, right? And the Paralympic Games, for instance, that are taking place right now would be a prime example of such. And so what we've created is a series of events. We want the communities to come together to support the children. The children are the main participants, but they have to register with an adult running buddy. So again, that's a family affair, that's a community affair. Students can run with teachers if mommy or daddy or auntie or uncle aren't available. We'll have, adult runners there as well to help the kids and motivate them along. So again, those are the types of efforts that we can do to invest in the health of the young people.
You've just talked about a young person running with an adult.
Correct.
So is it that you have some volunteer adults who may not have a child, but would be willing to run with a young person?
Absolutely. Anyone who wants to come on and support a child, because again, through Run for Life and my Trinidad and Tobago and the efforts there, we know that not everybody can come with an adult, with a guardian, with a parent, because people work, people have other children to care for, etc. Right? So we understand the societal obligations that we may have, of course. But if you want to come and volunteer to be a runner, we have what we're calling a candy wrapper crew. Right, and the candy wrapper crew at the end of the race or throughout the race to help motivate the children to finish. And one of the things that we discussed is that no child will finish the race last. Our candy wrapper crew will be behind them again, just to help motivate them along the way. Yes, so if anyone wants to come and volunteer to be a running buddy, absolutely, and they can find all the information out. I can give out the information at www.sugarrushtt.com.
Can you say that again, please?
Absolutely. It's www.sugar, like our sweetness, sugar, rush, RUSHTT, or beautiful Trinidad and Tobago, www.sugarrushtt.com for all of the information.
Yeah. And if you wish to be a volunteer to run with a young person who doesn't have a running companion, then that's where you go.
Absolutely.
And that is such a beautiful idea, because there are my contemporaries, people who are my kind of age, who run, but they don't run quickly. They don't run fast. So they run slower. And if there is a young person who's just learning to run, they can link up. So it's really a beautiful idea. And I look forward to ensuring that this thing is successful. When is this race going to be?
This race is going to be on Saturday, October 26th, 2024, from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Queen's Park, Savannah. Starting point will be at Deer Street by TGI, and our ending with our health fair and finish line opposite Whitehall.
So you're having a health fair at the end of it.
Of course, we must bring the community engagement together. Our mission is to enhance awareness, action, and advocacy for childhood obesity, and we intend to incorporate and achieve all three through our community partners. There's availability for sponsors to come on board, for partners to come on board, for vendors to come and bring their products, show their support for the young people and their commitment to the health and well-being of the young people of our nation. So we have all of those opportunities, again, available on our website if you'd like to find out more at www.sugarrush.tt.com, or email us at info@sugarrushtt.com. So yes, we have that health fair available, which is absolutely essential to our mission.
Wonderful. What is the data on childhood obesity?
It can be quite staggering if you really go down into the numbers. So overarching, overweight and obesity. So we have to define it first. So how do we determine if a child, in this case, is overweight or obese? Because for adults, there are some normative values, although not perfect, in terms of not taking into account the body composition. For instance, someone who weighs 230 pounds, who is 6 foot tall, if they're a bodybuilder, right? Would we consider them to be obese or overweight? By the numbers, absolutely, but they have pure muscle mass. So it's not a perfect number. Even the base, the population upon which the normative values were made, is a very homogeneous population that is not reflective of our diverse culture and people in Trinidad and Tobago. So again, with a grain of salt, where it does come into play, however, is its relation to the risk of developing non-communicable diseases. And then I engage my patients and I ask them, after I talk about the cultural things, and then I ask them, is this number, though, a reflection of what you're doing? Does this number actually reflect your lifestyle? And so we take pause in that moment and understand there is some value to that body mass index number, that BMI, which is a correlation of an expected weight for a particular height. For children, we as adults, we could only grow outward. Like we're finished growing upward, but children grow up and out. So there is actually a curve, right? Children have a nadir at 4 and then another growth spurt until about 7. And then when they hit puberty, they have another growth spurt as well. So you will see changes in your child's size and your child's physique. They stretch out over the summer. That's a real thing that happens, right? And so that's one of the main reasons why for children, we don't have to push weight loss. We don't have to push dietary restrictions. We teach moderation, not good and bad foods, but in moderation, right? So if you're eating the particular food that has a lot of calories in it, you need to go and walk, right? So those are the types of things that we want to instill in children. Now, that curve, right? Children who are at the 85th percentile, meaning for their gender, right? For their biological sex, for their biological sex, boy or girl, that age, if they are heavier than 85% of those children, that is considered to be overweight, from the 85th to the 94th percentile. Those who are in the 95th percentile, in that they weigh more than 95% of children who are their sex and age or higher, that puts them in the category of obesity. So that's how we get those calculations to begin with, right? And so in terms of, like I mentioned, some of the interventions and the issues that can happen as a result of it, it is because of the amount of what we call visceral fat, which is the fat around the organs on the inside that we may not be able to see, as well as the more external visible fat collections and whatnot. But really and truly, like getting to the issue of the prevalence, like how much of an issue it is, in the last 20 years, right, which is the data that we have, the childhood obesity and overweight rates in Trinidad and Tobago have quadrupled.
Wow.
And that is not including the specifics from the pandemic, which brought global physical inactivity as well, right? In the US, the numbers are a bit more staggering. I would say about 19% of children aged 2 to 19 are obese. Additionally, another 16% are overweight. In the UK, 1 in 3 children are overweight and obese. So it really is, in a sense, a global epidemic. So you have clusters in developing in terms of economy and fast and slowly growing economic nations, where you can find rates of childhood obesity globally increasing. And on top of that, physical inactivity. Add to that food insecurity in both the quality of foods available and the quantity of foods that may not be available, I guess, in different populations, right? And so it's a ticking time bomb. It's like a mosh pit of concerns, but all is not lost at all. Conversations like this, Denise, thank you so much for engaging your audience in conversations like this, to take little nuggets away, again, to impart on their lifestyle as well.
So if you had to advise a young family who they're beginning to see obesity or overweight in their young child, what advice would you give them?
That is a fantastic question. I get that question all the time with my patients. Daily, I get that question. And so the first thing I would want to explore, of course, I'll ask the child, but what I'll want to explore is, where is it coming from? Is it that they have unlimited access to snacks? Because sugar and fat, it tastes good. Food is not our enemy. Food is never meant to be our enemy. Otherwise, we would not be able to be, it would not have been an essential to sustaining our lives. It's not our enemy. It has to be our friend. So I would start with the child's relationship with food. I would also start with, are they in a safe place such that they could go outside and play? Are they in a safe neighborhood to be able to do that? I would also talk about, what are the adults doing? Because it's unfair and ineffective to send a child to do something active while we sit in the car and scroll on our phones, right? Ooh, did I say something? Right. So that is what I mean. As it has to start there. Another thing is, the weight gain could actually be an outward manifestation of something like depression, like anxiety, other types of mental health concerns, bullying at school, abuse. And so that manifestation of obesity through drowning one's emotions in food. Food is a comfort. We have the same receptors in our brain as we do in our stomach. And so that's why when we get anxious or we get butterflies in our stomach, we get depressed, we feel sad in our stomach, it hurts our stomach, because of the same receptors, and food makes us feel good, right? And so really get into the root of where this is coming from, right? Once we get to the root, then we'll know how to deal with it.
That is such a beautiful response, Nyla. And you know what made me laugh is that I go around the savannah a lot, and I often see parents in their cars scrolling on their phones, waiting for their child who's playing football or something. And to me, when you take your child to sports, it's an opportunity for you to become engaged.
Correct.
You could go for a walk. You could do something so that you are actually active.
Correct.
But Nyla, I'm reflecting on our country and the increase in non-communicable diseases. And obesity seems to be one of the things. If you could do something, what would you do to just change that?
Oh, if I had a magic wand.
Yes, if you had a magic wand.
If I had a magic wand, I would actually change the mentality.
Mhm.
I would actually wave a wand and have each individual put their health as a priority, as a top priority. Because you know how when you're on a plane and they say, if you're with someone, you have to put on your oxygen mask before helping someone else. And I think if I could, again, wave a magic wand and individually, we can understand and gain a discipline and, have the awareness to really focus on our health and understand that nothing tastes as good as healthy feels, then that's what I would do. It really, and we as Trinidadians and Tobagonians, with our watchwords of discipline, tolerance, and production, we do not lack in those things. We can do these things. We can put anything. We can do anything we put our minds to.
Yeah.
Trinidadians can do anything.
Yeah.
We just have to want to do it.
Yeah.
If you want to do it, we can do it. But again, I don't have a magic wand, right? And we are humans at the end of the day, as Trinbagonian as we are still humans, right? So we can fall short, and that's okay. So the other thing I would wave my magic wand for is grace. Every meal is a choice. Every hour is a choice. Next day is a choice, should it come to you, right? Is a choice. You have to just keep choosing yourself. Keep choosing to put your health as a top priority. Keep choosing to be the example for your children to emulate, especially if you are concerned about their health. We are concerned about their health. I'm a parent as well, right? So that's what I would say.
And that's absolutely lovely, but we don't have a magic wand.
I know. I know.
So we have to find ways, and some of the work you are doing is finding a way to just transform things. You
Absolutely.
talked about two NGOs that you're involved in.
Yes.
What is the other one?
Run for Life Trinidad and Tobago. It was started in 2016 while I was on a sabbatical after completing my sports medicine fellowship. I was home for the summertime, August, before I started my first attending job. I was invited to the office of the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee, who I have served as a sports medicine team physician since 2016. And so I had met with officials there, particularly the then President, Mr. Brian Lewis, pitched the idea to him and some other stakeholders as well. And it has just grown. We started, the current president, Ms. Diane Henderson, had recommended Serval Junior Life Center in Cascade. And they were our very first school. We started off with 6 students to run the then Trinidad and Tobago International Marathon Relay that started in Chaguanas in Central and came all the way up to the Savannah. And each of those 6 students, when they started, they half a block, they were panting, right? Mr. Anton Lafond was their coach that year. And each of them, through his training, were able to run the leg. And the leg was about 4.32 miles apiece, right? And that was our very first year. Over the years, the official races of the TTIM have evolved. And we took, of course, because schools were out, we took a COVID hiatus. But we returned this year. And we had 6-day participants in the TTIM 5K the day before the marathon in March of this year. And it was just an absolutely wonderful experience. The children wanted to participate. We had one young lady who was the head girl of Bishop Anstey High School. This was her 3rd year participating. They can't wait for next year. So if you give the children the opportunity, they want to do it, They want to do it. They love it. Just give them the opportunity, give them a chance to shine. Our youngest participant was 9 years old.
Wow.
So they can do it. A 9-year-old can run a 5K.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's absolutely wonderful that you've now reached to having 60 children doing the 5K.
Correct.
And I sincerely hope that is going to multiply tremendously.
Absolutely. That is our intention. Yes.
Yeah. The impact of that is really, really good because sports forces you to be disciplined. And if it's a takeaway that I have from sports, it is that you cannot be the Trini who care about anything and be involved in sports.
Right.
You have to become very, very disciplined. Yes.
Correct.
Tell me a little about your involvement in the Olympic support the Olympic Committee and so on?
Absolutely. I am so grateful for the opportunities afforded to me by the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee. I in 2016, when I was home, I was instructed to call a number, and I went down to the new, at that time, the Couva Velodrome. They just opened it, and they were about to host the Junior Pan American Track Cycling Championships. And I met with the president of the TT, Trinidad and Tobago Cycling Federation at the time. He told me where I was going to put my medical stuff, and I don't know if they know this, but I had no idea I was going to be the medical director for that for that event. I mean, but you know how we are. when an opportunity comes, you have to be ready, right? And so he had instructed me. I promise, I have no idea if he knows this, but he had instructed me. This is where you're going to put your medical stuff, and in my mind, I was like confused, and out my mouth said, "Thank you. Yes, absolutely." And so I was able to call one of my neighbors who is a physician, Dr. Sweelan Gerald. I called her. I said, "Hey, Gil, they told me I'm the medical director of this event. What are we doing?" She took me to various stores. We got together a medical box, not even a medical bag. It was a medical box, a little cardboard box. We got supplies together. My cousin, Dr. Shaneri, she is able to garner medical volunteers from UE, from the med school. We hooked up with EMS and fire services, and we had the best time. The games were amazing. It was what I had dreamed about. It was a literal dream come true to serve on the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee as a sports medicine physician. That was a dream I had since undergrad, emailing them. And then I guess I did well because they kept asking me to come back. So I was able to serve for the Central American and Caribbean Games in Barranquilla, Colombia in 2018, at Pan Am in 2019 in Lima, Peru. There was a Tokyo hiatus, the hiatus for COVID, so Tokyo 2021 Olympics, Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, UK 2022, and for the Commonwealth Youth Games in Trinidad and Tobago in August 2023.
So what is your learning from that? Because that didn't happen in a structured way.
Well,
so what's your learning from that?
So of everything is patience. But you have to have active patience. And you know that saying, stay ready so you never have to get ready. If you're asking for something, I had been asking for this since I was in Bishops, that I wanted to be an Olympic team physician. That's what I had said that I wanted. And here it is.
Yeah.
So if you're asking for something, please be ready when it comes. Please be ready for it. Be able to see it, be able to recognize it. And it would not have been from finishing fellowship in sports medicine to an Olympic Games. That the Olympic Games was in Rio, and the TTUC was preparing to go to Rio, actually, which is why there weren't anybody around for the other games, because they were in Rio caring for the athletes there. And so just to be ready for the opportunities, but patience. Running a large organization like the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee is not an easy feat. Hundreds of athletes and supporters and officials that there's a lot of effort that goes into coordinating everything for them. And so building an elite athlete is something that takes decades. So I implore as well. I'm a lifetime supporter of Trinidad and Tobago's athletes. Lifetime. It could be of sports in general. I've never been a bandwagonist. I with you on it and off. It doesn't matter what you're doing, win, lose, or draw. We here, right? I rally. And so, I got a first-hand look on the inside of really and truly what it takes. I saw nothing is perfect. Nothing at all is perfect. And so I saw ways that could be shored up. I saw ways that need to be emphasized and emulated. But really and truly is that patience, just to keep supporting and keep being present and showing up and giving 100%. And the other thing that I gained from it was understanding that I was not there for myself. I've always been a humble person, always. I didn't come from a lot, from a material perspective, but I came from a lot of grounding and positivity and support from my family. So that for sure we have. But understanding that service, what we're doing with Trinidad and Tobago's athletes and the Olympic Committee, is serving the athletes, not serving ourselves. right? And so, in particular in Tokyo with the pandemic, there are lots of rules to follow. Miss Riza Grant, who was our COVID coordinator for those games, every single day she had a set plan, very, very disciplined in terms of, making sure the athletes have exactly what they need and to stay in line with the rules and policies. You have to be very, very disciplined and understand that you're not there to serve yourself. We are here to serve the athletes of Trinidad and Tobago, and by extension, the people of Trinidad and Tobago who put their support in for all of these athletes. So please keep supporting the Trinidad and Tobago athletes, please.
Yeah. And supporting is one part of it.
Right.
The other part of it that I want to see is the long-term goals.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of the talks that I'm hearing are that our objectives have to be clear in terms of not 2028, nor even 2032 Olympics, but we may probably need to be looking at 2036 Olympics in order to begin to have the kinds of athletes that we need to have.
Right.
So, Nyla, just shifting away from TTOC and so on, what suggestions do you have for a young person listening to this and hearing about where you have gone in terms of medicine? What would you suggest to them?
Oh, yes. Again, a huge passion is educating young people to understand that they have a choice and they can create more opportunities for themselves. So they have the freedom to choose whatever they want to do. Right? I went to Springers Learning Center and Tunapuna Anglican School. All my formative education was in Tunapuna, and then I went to Bishop Anstey High School. All of my life skills I got there, every single one, right? And even though you may not know exactly what it is you want to do, literally just ask yourself, what brings you joy? What actually brings you joy? Because if you are able to find what brings you joy, you're able to make that your goal. And again, it may not be a joyous route. It may be quite circuitous. It may be quite winding. You end up all over the place. But if you have, at least if you don't know yourself, know what brings you joy. Because that is your goal. That is what you will be destined to do. And as long as you strive towards that, you'll continue to be happy. Give yourself the opportunity for options. You have to give yourself the opportunity for options. And the first person that cannot limit you is yourself. That's what I would say.
Absolutely wonderful. What are some challenges that you think we experience in our country, both in terms of sport and obesity? What are some of the challenges that we have?
Yes. So I think understanding, well, firstly, the impact of the issue, that it is a real issue, right? It is a growing issue. So I think that would be the first challenge, is awareness, right? Policies in place. Trinidad and Tobago, I'm based in the US and I work in the US. Trinidad and Tobago is ahead in terms of making sure that physical education is a part of the school curriculum. That has to stay, because that is not a required part of a school's curriculum here in the US. It's not. And so that aspect is essential to make sure the policies surrounding child welfare and child rights are such that they empower and encourage health as a top priority. Other challenges include, like I had mentioned before, is your neighborhood safe? Are your surroundings safe for participation in activity, right? Other challenges include the other challenges within the home. If I have to pick between paying a bill, paying for a gym membership, and again, I'm just using an example, other children to care for. Again, that's an individual parent's decision that we are not to judge. We are not the judge of that. Parents generally do whatever is best for their children. So again, another challenge is helping parents and guardians understand the importance of a future thing that hasn't happened and the investment that has to be made now, and helping them see that vision, but also challenging themselves to make differences.
Did you say that in the US, physical activity, PE, is not part of their curriculum?
It's not a requirement.
It's not a requirement.
It's an individual school decision, but it's not a it is recommended, but it's not a requirement.
So you can go to a school and PE is not on the timetable.
You can.
Yes.
You can.
But in Trinidad, you talked about Trinidad being advanced. For as long as I could remember, PE was
Right.
part of our timetable, for a
Yeah.
long time. And I think what I'm hearing you say is that we probably need to spend a lot more time on
Yes.
the implementation to ensure that our children, even in primary schools, are involved in some kind of physical activity on a daily basis.
Absolutely. Every day, at least an hour a day. And it could be anything. It could be they put on Instagram and they're following a TikTok dance video and just go for it. Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like I did in La Jolla doing aerobics with my mother. It doesn't have to be that. It does not have to be at a cost.
Yeah.
And again, of all abilities, this is not just for people who are physically able to run around a savannah. If you can walk around the savannah, if you can take your wheelchair and push around the savannah, do upper body work, whatever bodily functions you have. Again, we welcome all abilities in whatever it is that we're putting on. So whatever you can do that.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is we probably need to invest in some awareness programs.
Yes, absolutely. And again, the awareness is not just to say you need to lose weight and childhood obesity is this. There are ways to get around that. Again, that mental well-being. If you are, if you're understanding and taking your esteem up and creating that identity for yourself as a healthy human being and as a contributing member to the society, the other parts of keeping yourself healthy will come, right? If you take the spin like we are at Sugar Rush and Rico TT, if you're taking that spin of physical activity being the main driving force and just creating opportunities for safe, fun movement, there you go.
Yeah.
Right? So again, it's not just about pushing obesity. That awareness is very absolutely important, but it depends on your audience, right? So yes, we may not know what childhood obesity is, but we know what diabetes is, right? Which is one of the sequelae of childhood obesity, and children are now getting type 2 diabetes that adults only used to get earlier, some decades ago. Children are now getting type 2 diabetes, right? Children are getting high cholesterol. We know what that is. We know what heart attacks are. We know what high blood pressure is. We know those things, right? And so, again, meeting the person, the recipient of the information, wherever they are. Meet them with whatever knowledge they have, whatever base they have, and we can approach an intervention for childhood obesity that way.
One of my takeaways from this is the use of Instagram, and you could look at a dance program on Instagram and use that for the class. That is
absolutely.
It's a simple approach, but it is such a wonderful approach because the student will love it.
Correct.
And it is there and it's activity. So my
Correct.
takeaway from that is we need to at least have 1 hour of activity on a daily basis.
Every day.
Yeah, just
absolutely.
At least 1 hour.
Correct.
Absolutely. Okay.
Correct.
Nyla, you have an excellent career. You're a doctor and so on. Anybody listening to this may say, well, she's privileged. That's how she became a doctor. Do you have anything that you want to share with us as to how you became where you are?
Sure. My privilege is freedom. That's the privilege that I had. I didn't have, like I said, material privilege. Both of my parents were teachers. 3 of my 4 grandparents were teachers. So, and I was a teacher as well. Very, very simple beginnings, but we have love, we have support. That for sure. I have that privilege is of an extremely supportive family, and I very much acknowledge and understand that not everyone has that. But where I didn't have it, if there was lacking in family, I had it in neighbors, right? In Trinity. I had it in my school. I had it at La Jolla and those lifelong friendships. So even if within your own surroundings, your immediate surroundings, you don't find community there, you can find it elsewhere, right? And so my story is one of, again, the fortitude that was ingrained in me growing up in Trinidad and Tobago, I take that with me here. Those are the strengths that I have here, right? For sure. Because of the other systemic institutions that they have very much across the US and other places like racism and whatnot. Because I grew up in Trinidad and Tobago and didn't have to think about anything but getting an education as the key to transcending any ism, right, that is in existence, I come into this society with that same approach. So my experience is different from an African American or another Black person in America per se, because my mentality and how I grew up was different. And it's, again, not good, bad, or indifferent. It's just different. Not good or bad. It's just different. And so I went to Howard University on a full scholarship. So there was no privilege of money. If I didn't keep my grades up, I would come back to Trinidad and Tobago and fail. And that just wasn't an option. My grandfather, my mother's father, James Wilfred Townsend, that was not an option. That wasn't an option. In that case, you have no choice. So it was not a privilege. It was a necessity. And at one point I was working 4 jobs. I was teaching steel pan at Cultural Academy for Excellence in Hyattsville, Maryland with Lorna Green. Steel pan is my love.
I'm going to interrupt you there. Yes. You were teaching steel band? Tell me about that.
Sure. From the moment I came, so my mother and Maureen Clements, they had gone up over the years to work, to do workshops, at the Cultural Academy for Excellence. Is an arts and education program started by Lorna Green, who's from Barataria. And it's in Hyattsville, Maryland, which is about a small train ride from Howard University in DC. And, well, I mean, if my mother is doing it for the summers from the moment I reach. I mean, I've been playing steel pan since I was 2 years old in birdsong in Tunapuna. And then to Panbury. And so, I mean, if I'm there at school, of course I have to, right? And so I used to volunteer there for years. I volunteered there for 6 years. Even when I lived in New York, I used to take the Greyhound bus every single weekend for the year when I was doing my master's program. Every weekend I used to come down to DC, to Maryland to teach, because I just wasn't ready to let go. I only stopped because I went to medical school in North Carolina and it would have just been too far. That's the only reason why. But I mean, privilege, no, again, most of us were on scholarship from the Caribbean, from Trinidad and Tobago. We had a huge Trinidad and Tobago contingent at Howard University. And a lot of us were on scholarship because US to TT is an exchange that many of us cannot afford, but we have determination and we have the knowledge, we have the intelligence, we have the capacity, and we have the drive. And so in that way, we were privileged for that opportunity, but we didn't waste it. Right? We took it extremely seriously. All right. And so after Howard, then I got into medical school at Duke University, but I could not afford to go, because at that time I was an international student, and international students had to put all 4 years of tuition, which was $250,000 US, in an escrow account from which they would draw every year for your fee, and that was just tuition alone. That wasn't fees or lodging or anything. So I had to wait. I bawled, of course, because I did everything I had to do to get in, and it still wasn't enough because I was an international student, which I wouldn't change for the world. Anyway, so I deferred for a year. I taught middle school math and science. I had a double major in biology and sports medicine, and I was a teacher. Again, going back to my roots, I was a teacher. Still didn't have the money at the end of the year, and so I was able to do a master's in nutrition at Columbia. All right. And during that year, one of the associate deans for admission, Dr. Brenda Armstrong, who is now passed, may she rest in peace. And she's a fire. She's a powerful force. And unbeknownst to me, in the background for years, they had been working on getting international students the ability to come and attend Duke University School of Medicine in the way of a grant, a huge endowment, and to be able to take out private loans from the school. So they had been working on that. I had no idea. All I knew was I was being steadfast. And this is what I wanted to do. So just stay the course. And then I got a call one day, literally, Richard Wallace called me and asked, do you still want to go to med school at Duke? I was in the lab at Columbia and I said, well, yeah. And that was it. And that is how I became a doctor. That was it. That was it. So there was again the privilege of freedom, the privilege of faith, the privilege of being someone who is patient, the privilege of humility. But that's pretty much the privileges there. It's not a material privilege at all. Not at all. It was very, very, very hard. Very hard. It was a lot of work and a lot of support and accepting of support along the way. And just saying thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't know what I did to deserve it, but thank you, thank you, thank you. That was it.
And thank you for sharing your story. Because sharing these stories is so important for our people, because sometimes I just find the negativity is a little too much. And what you've brought today is a lot of positive approach. Someone who's living abroad, but still managing 2 NGOs in Trinidad. Someone who's a doctor, but also can teach people how to play steel band. Who's very involved in sports, so that your range of talents and so on is really varied. So tell me, what's your future going to be like?
So my dream of becoming an Olympic physician came true. So I had to make new goals and dreams. My dream is to be on the International Olympic Committee Medical and Scientific Committee, to be able to bring awareness to eating disorders and other health conditions of athletes of the global majority. A lot of what work is done research-wise is done in Scandinavian populations, in very homogenous populations in that way. But I am very, very much in tune and focused on athletes across the diaspora in the West Indies, on the African continent, migrants to European countries. We see how diverse the Olympics has gotten in terms of the athletes that represent nations that they would not have represented 20 years ago, right? And so, but the standards of care when they were being set did not include those athletes. It didn't include representatives from different nations and different cultures and different races and ethnicities. And so we're basing standards of care on populations that are not like those other populations. So what I would like to do is just to make sure that sports and exercise medicine is incorporating everybody, researchers, scientists, physicians. You sitting down there can be an Olympic physician too. You can. So incorporate that, create those opportunities for them, but as well as the participants in, research and community studies. We have to have those people on the ground who are actually being affected by all these policies and standards, but they must be a part of the planning process and starting process. There's a saying that if you're not seated at the table, you're on the menu, right? And so what my goal is to put that seat on that table and bring more chairs for more people.
Yeah, because we don't want to be on the menu.
Oh no, never. Oh, never. Right. So that is my dream. That is my dream. Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Nyla.
Absolutely.
We bring this show to an end. It's been a wonderful program for me. Tell me, what are your parting words? What would you like to say to the population of Trinidad and Tobago?
We know that childhood obesity is an issue and it is growing. Please join the efforts however small or large. Come help us out. Help us to help everyone. Right? Our 5K is open for everyone. We encourage you all to come and participate, walk, run, crawl, push, stroll, wheelchair, walk, however you can, right? Come and participate, come and support this effort to help bring awareness, action, and advocacy for childhood obesity. You can find us online at www.sugarrushtt.com, our Instagram handles at RicoTT or at SugarRushTT, and then our website www.sugarrushtt.com to register for our 5K. We look forward to seeing you.
Thank you ever so much. And Naila, who is the leader of the Race to End Childhood Obesity in Trinidad and Tobago. That is such a wonderful goal because obesity is so negative. Thank you ever so much. And I look forward to being with you. All the best.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you very much to our viewers and listeners. Denise Deming, Power Conversations. I look forward to hearing to you being part of our continued conversations on a Monday and Wednesday from 8 to 9. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Goodbye.
There is a connection between government policy and law in the sense that all laws start as some type of government policy. So, for example, in Trinidad and Tobago, we would have had the recent national policy on persons with disabilities. And that policy talks in very strong terms about the need to both enact laws to provide for the human rights of persons with disabilities. It also talks about the need to amend laws that we have on our statute books right now that discriminate against persons with disabilities. So once that policy is adopted and approved by the cabinet, then the process of making it a law can begin. The difficulty with the policy remaining as a policy is two things. One, it's not enforceable. So it does not really give you any rights legally because it's just a policy, it's not a law. And the other thing is that policies can change over time. Policies can change over time as the needs of the government or the focus of the government itself changes. It can change if the government itself changes, so that it's not enough for us to say, well, we have a policy. We have to take that further step to make the policy a law, because that is what will give full protection for the human rights of persons with disabilities.